Am I really live? Is it live? Is it live? Any Run DMC fans? Is it live? Is it live? I didn't even tell anybody I was going to do this, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of time. Having a nice, relaxed day at the corporate behemoth known as Starbucks. Not trying to advertise, guys, but there's just really nothing else that I can go to at the moment. The cool, more hip ones are all drive-through only. So, and these people are very nice here. Actually, they have a nice staff. So. I'm not trying to be that guy that just sits there and talks smack about jobs, you know, where you work. Like, okay, fine, that's great, you know. Yeah, that's what it is. I got to get closer to the window. Hang on, folks. Yeah, I thought that might happen. Hang on. All right. In a second. All right. That should have solved the problem, guys. So there may be some choppy streaming going on here, and it's just that I was trying to start the stream when I was inside and everything like that, and there was just a lot of I don't know, the activity that I kind of talked to you guys a lot about on my channel. It was just getting to be a little bit challenging trying to do a stream, so I had to relocate out here, and this coverage is just garbage on the Wi-Fi. But if I go inside, it's all the pitfalls of being inside a you know, a Starbucks chain. It's going to be like the loud music and the shouting and everything else like that because people have to talk over it. So again, guys, I don't know what to do, and I can't really go back to the apartment at the moment. So, anyways, 3 minutes in and I haven't said a damn thing that's relevant. So welcome, but that gives people time to join. So I'll just put inside the comments section. I don't say anything of any significance or meaning for 5 minutes, or maybe I'll trim it down and edit it later. But welcome to everybody who's here. Feel free to say hi in the chat. Howdy ho. How are you doing? All right. It's pretty chilly out here, but I'm going to deal with it for now. And yeah, so, all right, let's just get down to it since I got some viewers here. I want to do something that's like a State of the Union when I'm not so like in a so swept up in a moment, guys, because things, to be honest with you, have been pretty intense. Those who don't know, my channel's been mostly dormant for the last, I don't know, about 5-6 months. I haven't been doing nearly as much content as I used to. And to that point, I also haven't been as responsive to my friends out there as I used to. So I'm very sorry about that on that point. How you doing, Tina? Yeah, I will start responding to you guys more in the next couple weeks. Just please just bear with me now, like as far as like on the personal things or like one-to-one chats. I'm way better at doing things this from time to time on this type of forum than I am one-to-one because this is like a rare moment that I have, guys. If you see me streaming, it's only because like something's gone wrong or I can't work at that moment. Um, Winter's approaching, okay, and I've become very I don't ever want to be in a situation where I'm facing like, you know, what I'm going to be doing as far as like, you know, a home or work or anything else like that leading into a very cold and brutal winter. And and so I was going to make sure, damn sure this time that that did not happen to me, and that not only would it not happen to me, but I'd be in a place where, you know, I could actually help others if I needed to. And on that point, now I basically been busting my ass the last 5.5 months, and I'm almost done on a contract as a seafood processor. And I've fully vested myself into this role. I really got into it. I really did it. And um, I worked my ass off. I'm still working my ass off. I have today off just because I have to get some things done that I can't get done during a normal time. Sorry, guys, the bots are already showing up and messing up my chat. All right. So the reason why I wanted to do this was to give you the ability to offer slides and presentation materials. I wanted to share some now, and I think that we've gotten kind of used to like extreme events going on and you know across the world. And the reason why I like following guys like Benjamin Fulford is because he has a lot of information that other reporters simply don't even discuss, and I tend to find that his accuracy is pretty spot on, and it correlates and aligns with quite a few of the data points and data sets that are within my own research. As weird and bizarre as some of these things sound, and as strange that you right now, I'm getting a little bit of like entrainment. So hang on. It's kind of strange, guys. Okay, we back here, guys? Hang on really fast. This person doesn't see the problem with shining a fucking light in my face, so hang on. This is obnoxious as shit, dude. Guys, hey, I'm sitting like in this seat, right? This is what I've been dealing with, guys, while I've been trying to stream. Not going anywhere, just hanging out, stream, aiming that shit in my fucking face. So sorry about that. All right. I'm not hypersensitive to it, guys. It's just a little strange. I'm streaming and everything like that, and like just comes out here and just points the shit at me and doesn't move, and I'm just like I'm trying to concentrate. All right. So, State of the Union. Those who've been keeping an eye on me the last hour kind of understand what just happened. So I'll leave it at that. All right. You ready? I'm gonna keep trying to do this, guys, no matter what. I keep getting dropouts on the Wi-Fi. I get light shined in my face, so we're gonna see what happens here. Here, let me move this table more. Because I have a feeling, guys, that part of what I know about light, I'm just being real with you. You can use light to have a frequency, like light can be adapted to do 2.4 gigahertz. So a person can take a light signal and actually take a Wi-Fi signal from a smart car and use it to jam a Wi-Fi at a Starbucks, for example, if they want to. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm just saying. All right. I've been trying, guys, the Wi-Fi kind of sucks at a lot of Starbucks anyways. I think we all know that. But don't worry, though, guys, because I was assured by an FBI agent in Portland, Oregon, that it's a great place to upload documents to ic3.gov if you're trying to inform to the FBI on cybercrime and things relative to human trafficking and things like that. They say it's a really good way to report things. I think this is going to be a good day. I think this is how I'm going to do things because this is like a really good way to like find out what happens. All right, I don't want to get, there's better signal here. I'm trying to, I don't know where their antennas are. I didn't see, actually, I can actually see one of the repeaters inside the ceiling inside there. So I think I'm actually in one of the better spots I can be in if I'm going to be outside using Wi-Fi. So, but if you go inside, like if you think it's bad hearing like, you know, Karma Chameleon out here, you should hear it in there. Like you and I would not even be able to hear my voice. It'd just be like, you know, I'll be going to go like, hey, you guys. And then from one side, you'd be like going, yeah, I'd like a venti coffee. And then the other person says, you know, it's that kind of thing. It's not even their fault, guys. It's what the corporation does. Like they have to play the music that loud. And I've always wondered like why that is. It just seems like it's such an antithesis to relaxing and like having a nice cup of coffee. And Starbucks and a whole bunch of these other chains that are trying to replicate the Starbucks magic all do the same tactic of offering these really cool, comfortable places to sit and lots of plugins and wall outlets and everything. And then you just like fill the place up with just blaring music. Half of which drives you insane, and the other half you find in a Tavistock way pleasantly familiar but still kind of annoying. You know, it's songs like Karma Chameleon that you don't necessarily like, but at the same time you don't hate them either because they're just such a, like I grew up in the 80s, so like anything that was on MTV, even if I want to hate it, I can't. Damn you, Boy George. I got smart people in the chat today. It's cool. I like it. All right. I got lots of time today though. Damn it. My shield against the blinding lights has been removed. Guys, it still hasn't gone away. Look. So like now I had like I moved seats and everything like that to stop the lights from shining directly in my face. Now they're still camped there shining the lights, and now I don't have the shield, so I might have to go back inside again. Because guys, there's actually an unpleasant sensation affiliated with it. It does something to the way the light flicker hits. You can't think straight when it's hitting you like directly in the face, and I think it does something to the signal. Because almost any time that I try to like get a good signal around it when I should be able to, guys, like you have to understand, right before I did this contract, I was actually helping a person work on Wi-Fi networks and designing them. And so I actually had a chance to use Wi-Fi designing software and learn like how the power settings of different Wi-Fi nodes and where you mount them on different parts of the wall and how far they'll see, and actually test them out in real environments. I was helping them install them and everything. So yeah, you know where I'm at. Yeah, so guys, then you understand that Astoria basically is human trafficking central. It's Shanghai central. So if there's ever a place where human traffickers, Shanghaiers, and people that have generations of this inside their family histories are going to try to get away with it and troll my ass, it's going to be right here. So it's kind of the perfect blend of everything. I got to learn the seafood industry, which is pretty fascinating, to be honest with you. I'm like, actually, guys, learning the seafood processing industry has been probably one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life, to be honest with you. Like, I'm personally really proud of it. To me, like, this is really one of the crowning achievements that I survived, that I've actually survived 5.5 months in what's considered to be like one of the worst jobs a person can have. Think about it, guys. Like, this is what those like Mike Rowe and dirty jobs and all those other places, like, this is where they actually, you know, like film episodes and say like, this is a horrible place to work. Still hasn't gone, guys. I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything like that, but don't you think that's a little strange? I'm not going to try to focus on it. I'll tell you more about that one later. But basically, when I showed up and started ordering coffee, came into the coffee shop, sat at the table next to me and started doing all kinds of things, and then walking next to me while I was in the corner. And then I tried to leave just to get some peace and quiet and come out here. And I went over there, came outside, and has just been sitting here shining the lights in my face where I sit outside, guys. And again, not going anywhere. That's normal. But again, like, because it's a person that you wouldn't expect it to happen from, people go like, dude, are you sure you're right about that? I'm like, oh, it doesn't mean I am, but it's still obnoxious behavior. Can we agree? It's still kind of obnoxious to do that to a person. It's not polite, at least. But she saw no irony in doing this. And she overheard my conversation where I was saying that I fight human trafficking. So why, guys, do you ever ask yourself this? There's people that I knew, like when I showed up at the environment that I was at, that I have a public personality of fighting human trafficking. I fight the issue. I take it head on. I actually inform on the networks. I report on it directly. And I find myself frequently in environments where I show up and the harassment begins almost instantaneously. And it's not misperception, guys. It's like in various ones. And so I've actually kind of approached some of these folks and said, what exactly is inside your mind that has told you that I'm the bad guy in any of these scenarios? I mean, do you understand that I have done literally hours of material whistleblowing on human trafficking organizations, and I've taken it head on? I put myself out there, put my face, my personality, my name, all my information out there. So it's interesting that I show up at certain environments, whether they're work or just personal things to whatever, and then within a very short time, a person or even a team will show up to pretty much directly harass me, like it's their assignment. And I kind of go like, so what motivates you? What exactly about my personality and my public work bothers you? Is it the protecting of innocent people who are victims of human trafficking that bother you? Is it whistleblowing on the electronic transmission of these things that bother you? That I've told people how the smartphone hacks work on processing of those transactions of people? Is that what pisses everybody off about me? Because if that pisses you off, then you might be part of that, right? You see, the other people in my life that threw me away and told me to get the hell out, it's because they were involved. And beyond that, they had a whole network of people that they could sick on me if they wanted to. And that's all connected to the cults that go back to Bothell, Washington. And so I really need to give you guys like a total top-down history, I think, because I've got a few hours and I got to wait. I'm basically going to be here probably till like 1 o'clock Pacific time. So I have a lot of time to talk. I want to talk like lovers do. Is it really? I might get distracted temporarily by the 80s soundtrack of my environment because I am a child of the 80s, and Annie Lennox was very figurative in shaping the synthesized harmonics of my Tavistock brain. Sorry, guys, I'm making very abstract references today, but they're relevant to the people who are in the know. They'll find them funny. And sometimes just knowing that few percent that understand it find it funny is enough for me. Frankly, that's been the downside of being at the seafood processing plant. And I love being around people from all over the place and different cultures and learning about them. But the downside to it is like nobody understands my cultural references and they fall flat. Like I try to make a joke about something that's like a movie or something, and people like have no idea what I'm talking about. There was one time where it was nearly comical. I don't want to say what it was entirely, but oh my God, I shouldn't probably, but it's something that I like. I'm gonna have to write a movie about this experience, you guys. Like as soon as I'm done with this contract, I'm gonna make something that's like 95% truth. You know what I'm saying? And just change like the 5% to the fiction so that you know what I just went through. And I promise you, it's going to be fascinating. Like it has been a completely surreal experience. Yeah, guys, it's all here, man. I mean, Astoria has everything as far as like it would seem like everything I've been researching the last decade, it all sort of like leads into what Astoria kind of represents and is as far as a culture goes. I mean, guys, Shanghai is such a part of Astoria culture. They have a play that goes on downtown on Bond Street, a little theater that plays down there that does a regular thing called Shanghai in Astoria. I mean, it's like it's something that they just all know about. And those who don't know what Shanghai is, maybe we should just start there, guys. I mean, what brought me here? I wasn't really even intending to come here. It just sort of happened. So Robin says that a Stonehenge is in alignment with Astoria. If you're talking about the Stonehenge in England, you'll have to tell me like what that alignment is, because I run those types of alignments, and what I can tell you is that the American Stonehenge that is in the Maryhill area near like Biggs, no, not Biggs, is it Biggs? Why am I thinking Biggs? Yeah, Washington, near the Dalles, like Dallesport, near that area, okay? Near the Dalles and Dallesport, if you keep heading east, on the Washington side, there's a Stonehenge there called Maryhill Stonehenge, okay? This is like a key part of all my research. I've done tons and tons of research. I've done reports there. I've done alignment research there. So it does have 33-degree alignments, just like the Astoria column has 33.33-degree alignments. And so, yeah, there is. The thing I try to make people understand, though, is that I'm kind of getting off topic here, guys. I don't even know what the hell the topic is today. Maybe I'm just going to ramble for a few hours, and I shouldn't call this the State of the Union. No, I should, guys, because everything that I'm dealing with here is the State of the Union. This is everything that's going on here is what's America right now. There's been like a plan in place going on for decades, ladies and gentlemen, like that you need to know about. All right. It's like there's like a reversal of a negative great work that these people have been trying to achieve, and kind of mastering, keeping all of us into um, a fear economy, a one where we're in a constant state of trauma, where we're not in a creative mindset. We're not in a life or creation mindset. We're always in a death cycle mindset and a fear mindset. Part of this is because there is some technologies that have been used for about a decade now that use plasma and human plasma as a fuel for the technology. I'm just going to be real, guys, because my channel, like, if I dance around topics too much, then I fail you and everybody else. So I'm just going to tell you straight up what's happening. It's a bioplasma economy that we exist in currently. Money is a front for the bioplasma economy. Energy is a front for the bioplasma economy. Everything that you see, oil, gas, all of it is a front for bioplasma. Once you get past, they say there's the man behind the man behind the man behind the man. Okay. Like in Scarface, like, once you get the money, then you get the power. Once you get the power, then you get the women. Okay. I would say that it's all about the bioplasma. What he just said really is about the bioplasma. Speaking of which, I made a joke, right? Like, one of the machines that works made this loud machine gun sound, went brrr, and it failed, right? And so right when it did that, I said, "Say hello to my little friend." Nobody got it. Nobody laughed. Nobody thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious, but anyways, but that's what's really going on right now, is that there's technology that's being used right now that's been kind of hidden and being used by a select group of the population that's been more widely distributed over the last 5 years. It's a heads-up display technology that's very similar to Google Glass. So what you all use, as far as like the average consumer uses, is Google Glass. There's a technology that's nearly identical to it that doesn't require the glasses. And people have been able to use this going back prior to even a decade ago. And the reason why it wasn't more widely known, and isn't going to be more widely known more than likely, is because of the fuel that it requires. Yeah, it operates on electricity, but it also operates on bioplasma. And so I think the clearest way to discuss this, and maybe I can, I don't have a pen. Crap. And I really should have got myself the virtual whiteboarding software. I really should have, because I want to write this down. But let me actually, since I have my Trinity of Human Energy diagram up on my notebook right now, so I can show this to you really fast, so you understand the plasma cycle better relative to bioplasma. Because again, folks, everything exists as ether and bioplasma before it exists as physical reality. See, I personally, this is where I became more of a spiritual person. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to do your comment there, Michelle, Robin. There you go. Sorry about that. All right, so let's talk about plasma. This process right here, okay? So you have the hemisphereing of the brain, okay? And you need to start thinking about these hemispheres as like the magnetic field, the M field, the electrical field, and then what's generated by these two fields meeting in the center. You form this vesica piscis, where your pineal gland is. The pineal gland, okay? See, put it next to my head. Start thinking about where my eyes are. See how the eyes are on this chart? Think about where they are on my head. Your pineal gland right here. Okay. Now, each hemisphere is generating a brain wave that can be measured on an EEG, okay, an electroencephalograph. That brain wave will measure about the same thing as the Earth brain wave. Human brainwave, when you're in idle mode, is about 7 to 8 hertz. Okay, one of these is a hertz. 1 cycle per second is a hertz. Your brain is going about 8 cycles per second when you're not thinking about anything. You're just kind of hanging out. The Earth has the same brainwave. I repeat, The earth has the same brainwave. You want the State of the Union? I'm going to tell you the state of the world first. Then you'll understand the State of the Union. Sorry, I got distracted in the beginning of this, guys. That's why they do all this crap to me, so that you won't get to this part. So maybe I'll edit out all that crap in the beginning when I actually leave this online. What we truly exist in, the magnetic field, the E field, and then the aether that forms in between. The universal plasma field is what we all exist in. So like, you know, they have the Big Bang Theory and everything else like that. No, none of it is. It's more about the Holy Trinity. It's more about what religion teaches us. It's more about that big question mark about what began what. All right. You form that vesica Pisces in the center. See that? There's your pineal gland, left, right, eye. Third eye is your pineal gland, which is also the vesica Pisces, which is that order of etheric energy formed between the two hemispheres of the brain. Then you get this vesica Pisces that is surrounding your pineal gland. Your pineal gland in the center of your brain is also surrounded by piezo-responsive, piezoluminescent crystals. Crystals, just like a television has a liquid crystal display that broadcasts the image onto the screen. It's a replication of what goes on inside your brain to form the 3D reality that you exist in. And then you feel things, things form and shape. You sense things based on universal agreements of what that plasma is. That's it. This table that I'm feeling right now vibrated into physical resonance through a shared agreement. How do I prove that? Because the table started out as a design. Somebody wrote down, I want the table to have this many inches by this many inches. It's going to have this much wood. It's going to have this much by this much square inch on this. And they measure it all and they write it all down. And they actually create a diagram and a blueprint of what that thing's going to be, just like a house. It has to know, you know, like each pillar is going to be this many feet by this many inches wide, correct? It always begins as an idea. It always begins in the aether. Nothing becomes physical reality without it becoming spiritual reality first. Fact. So when they get you to focus excessively on what's in the physical, as if it's the only thing that matters, as if money's all that matters, as if your property is all that matters, as if these things are the only things that matter, no. Nothing would matter without antimatter. Nothing would matter. Nothing would become physically resonant unless it was an idea first, and unless it was in a shared agreement, unless people thought it up and then it became something. Everyone is a wizard. All of you are. You're all wizards. You're all whatever you want to call it. You're all Mickey Mouse and Fantasia. You're all moving plasma around. It's just a matter of how conscious and aware you are of what you're doing and how much you can personally move around relative to others. Some can move a lot of plasma around. Some can barely move any around. Some can move large concentrations in short distances very well, and others can move in narrow amounts, longer distances, just like beams on an antenna. You know, I was in the wireless industry. We had some that were these 40-degree beam antennas. They were great for aiming down a highway. They could go like 30 miles. But you couldn't use a 100-degree beam with the antenna because it would only go like, bloop. It would barely see a mile. But it sees really wide. The other one's very narrow and it goes far. The other one's wide and it captures more closer to the antenna. See, that's the same way that bioplasma processes exist within the human brain. It's not like one's better than the other, or one sees further than the other, or whatever. Okay, it's just that you have different levels through which you can focus and concentrate your personal plasma signature relative to others to form the 3D reality that you exist in. So everybody that's around you right now is helping you form and structure the reality that you exist in through this bending of the plasma field. And it's the input and output of all the other messages that you've received since birth and before birth. It is informing what you're actually perceiving. Okay, this is the game that's played by those who are in power. They understand this intrinsically. And if you don't understand that it's going to be to your detriment, they're using it as a weapon against everybody. Everybody in the global population that doesn't have an awareness of it, you are their enemy. If you were their friend, you would know about it. I would even argue that quite a few of their enemies do know about it. They're only friends with them because they're their frenemies. Those are people that they know that, well, they know the same thing that I know, so I better not mess with them. All right. So yeah, Tina, that's our problem. Is that, and you know what? I feel very confident that this is the year that it's all happening. This is the year that we're getting our disclosure in ways that are very meaningful, because this, what I just told you, is everything to understanding why things are lied about. Why do they lie and create mass resonance manipulation events involving like serial killers, for example? I heard a guy on Twitter the other day said he listed like about 10 like popular serial killers and said, guess what? None of these people actually exist. These trials did not go down the way that you think they did. They were all theater, and they've been doing this a long time. And I thought to myself, he's right. I don't even have to look that deeply into them to know. Most of them sound a little bit fake, or how could that have possibly happened? And I've tried to explain to people, it's like the Zodiac crimes. Okay, that didn't go unsolved, truly. It's a program. It's a mass resonance manipulation program. It's still continuing to this day. It's an effective way to generate fear. It's a fear matrix. It's a way to draw plasma fields to deadly orgone radiation and have it bind to deadly orgone radiation, which is a way of changing human plasma into something that turns it into sort of like a vacuum of information that creates negative energy events. I covered this when I was researching and actually reading and orating Valery Uvarov's article called "The Mechanics of Negative Energy," which I would really strongly recommend that people go out and actually read. And I did a whole thing about several months ago, about 7 months ago, on the mechanics of negative energy, where I actually, did a whole what do you call it? I basically read directly from his article and talked about what they did with the Mayan pyramids and everything else like that, painting them red and using them for sacrifice. And so what I'm trying to explain to people is that a lot of these systems of generating fear and of generating power and global influence, they haven't changed over the years. Like, not a lot has significantly changed since the Mayans were in power. All right. The methods are still the same. And what I've uncovered here, especially lately, is I've seen the whole system in place through which there's like a whole lot of, when you say that like it's a staged actors and it's theater, what I'm telling you guys is, yeah, a lot of these gangs and cartels that exist right now, they're all just running around trying to scare you, but they're doing the same thing that they do with all these other events. It's special effects in Hollywood. It's people getting shot in front of you that aren't really shot. They use like the blowout packs of the blood that go plaff, and the person falls down, and the EMS comes in and goes, "Oh, let's get him to the hospital and rush them in." And it makes everybody go, "Oh my God, I just saw something. Oh my God, that just happened. Oh my God, that person just got shot." But it didn't happen. Somebody just got disappeared. That's how the crisis assault actor training thing works. I know I'm kind of going all over the place here, guys, but it's because you kind of have to understand top down, like what's really going on here. And it's a little bit hard to concentrate in an environment like a coffee shop, especially when you know that there's, the troll gates. And the music is just impossible to think over. Somehow, though, I'm able to explain to you the human brain, plasma fields, and everything over all this. So go figure. Not bad. All right. So what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that, all right, let's talk a little bit about the state of the union right now, as far as like why things are so bizarrely weird within social justice movements and why there's such a divide in the country, and what I can do as a person who's been, I don't know, pretty progressive and liberal in my history, I would say, over time. And what happened to me over the last 5 or 6 years is that in my quest for the truth and trying to learn more about my family and finding disturbing connections to human trafficking and political cover-ups involving politically connected materials, and then protected by a certain mafia connected to my family. having to process these things at an emotional level put me on a quest for learning the truth. Like when you learn that you have family members that actually protect elite predators and child molesters, it's a little bit disturbing. And that your family has actually hired some of those elite child molesters and predators to actually harass you. They've told me. These people have got in my face and told me they're protected and they can get away with it, and that they're going to keep doing it, and they get right in my face. I've told people on my live streams before, this happened to me out in King City about a year and a half ago when I still was driving around out there and doing my work. And this guy rolled right up to me right in the middle of my work and straight up admitted to me that he was a child molester, and said that he gets away with it, and that he has a whole network of people that are like him. They get away with it, and there's nothing I can do about it. And he was just basically giving me the finger and circling me. I'm just telling you guys, like, that's just a microcosm for what I deal with. And when you understand that my brother is at the National Security Directorate, he is Big Brother. So can you imagine what it's like for me to have this awareness that I have a group of elite child molesters and predators that admit to my face that they do what they do? And my brother, who has more surveillance power than God, and an aunt who was in the Department of Justice Cybercrime Division in Seattle, who's friends with people like Mayor Jenny Durkin, former Mayor Jenny Durkin, and former Governor Gary Locke, along with my uncle. Gary Locke appointed my uncle, Ricardo Cruz, to the Seattle School District. And then my dad was headed human resources at the Department of Energy, where my brother wound up becoming the National Security Directorate. I think it was like operations, like, I'm not sure if he was the operations manager, but he was like the head of operations of the National Security Directorate, which had cross functionality with the NSA, that NSA. Yes, the one that looks at everybody's information and surveillances the entire world. Yes, that NSA. Homeland Security and nuclear surveillance. So if I have child molesters and predators that are basically telling me to my face that somebody in the background is letting them get away with it by just giving them access to data and giving them access to data routes, who is doing that, you think? Who's providing them those data routes, and who lets them stack up on me and harass me? It's got to, guys, if it's not my brother and my aunt who are helping facilitate it, then they're nearly criminally negligent in doing nothing about it and not offering more assistance to, at least, even if they hate me. Don't you think that if they cared about this issue, they'd want to get the child molesters that do it? No, what they're going to do is say that I make it up. But see, they've been running that story for years, even though James J. Pettigrew gave a confession to me. I witnessed him doing it. I have another person that was a victim of his that told me explicitly everything he did, not to mention the things that I witnessed. And guess what? This powerful family with all these surveillance capabilities, with connections to governors and mayors and everything else like that, they were like, I don't know how he got away since the 80s and wound up in Mexico after having over 100 victims. Hey, Diane, when did you get his address? I asked my mother, I said, when did you get your father's address down in Mexico? I'm going to tell you guys straight up what I'm dealing with, what this Rebecca network is really about. They protect these guys. And they sit there going like, who, me? I just love children and I protect them. But they always look a little off. They always look a little witchy. And they're always telling people, bad person there, bad person there. Don't look at me. That's the Rebeccas. My mother is a Rebecca. Guess what? When I confronted her about her own father, I said, I'm going to tell you guys this one more time since we're doing a State of the Union. I've confronted this network directly. She is the daughter of the man that had over 100 victims, probably, confessed to me about all the things he did. And she had access to his whereabouts, and she could have done something to report him. And so when I became aware of this, I confronted her and I said, I need you to tell me when you got the address of James J. Pettigrew because, you know, he is a child abuser and he was guilty of doing it. He did confess. So all we'd have to do is basically just turn him in and somebody could go arrest him. So when did you become aware of his address, since you seem to be comfortable with letting him go and just dying in peace? And she said this to me. She did this exact motion. Who knows? She did that. I said, no, that's not good enough. See, there's people that are victims of this, man. So you have to answer this question for me, Penny. When did you become aware of the whereabouts of James J. Pettigrew? When did you get his address? I want to know within 5 years. Who knows? She did it a second time. I said, all right, maybe you forgot. How about you tell me which decade? Was it the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, 2010s? In which decade did you get the address of James Pettigrew? 3 times now, she goes, who knows? And then she turned her back on me and walked away. That's a woman protecting a child abuser. That's not a woman who wanted to turn him in. That's a woman that let this man do what he did. That's a woman that helped facilitate it. I would argue that's a woman who arranged his meetings with the children. That's a woman who is guilty. That's a woman who's running out there like her doesn't stink. She's even got guys, on her license plate is a cryptogram of the address where the corner is where he molested all the children. It's in her license plate, the corner, 222nd and 4th, BBX 2224. That's occult as hell. You know what that is? I'm going to explain to you why she does that. All the children that experience trauma at the hands of James and her bloodline, she drives around in circles, the wheels going in rotation, going BBX, BBX, baby box, 222 and 4th, 222 and 4th, 222 and 4th, 222 and 4th, 222 and 4th. She's fueling it. She's adding resonant energy to it. She's driving around creating trauma, anger, rage. She does it with her driving. And then she gets people to look at the image of her license plate after she pisses them off. She'll do things like slow them down or whatever it is. Just something that is obnoxious in a parking lot, whatever it gets them to look at the license plate and go, "Arr!" And then they see the image, and then it binds negative energy to the term BBX, which is 222nd and 4th, which is where James molested all the kids. So she adds fuel to the geographic location where he traumatized the children and their bioplasma is anchored to. This is how it works. This is why they practice sacrifice. This is why they practice child abuse. They anchor human plasma to geographic locations. Then they create trauma events at other geographic locations that bind these energies almost like reverse rainbows of negative energy. They're links. They follow the child over a lifetime. So if James abuses a kid as a child, they try to do things aggressively to create energy links between that geographic location to that child into an adulthood, right up until they die. They want them always traumatized and thinking about the event and never getting justice and never getting a sense of peace. It's all part of the process. And she's conscious and aware, otherwise she wouldn't have that on her plate. She's conscious and aware, otherwise she would have answered a question to her own son about the whereabouts of her abusive father. Because if you care about your son, if you care about your daughter, if you care about kids in general, and you knew that man had that many victims, you would do whatever it takes to get them some sense of justice, would you not? If you're a caring person, let's just talk about this. See, because I'm not even responsible for it. I was a child when all this happened, but I even feel some sense of responsibility for getting these people who he hurt some justice. I know he's got victims out there. Some of them may have even come across my material and said, hey, I remember Gabe from the neighborhood. And if you did, talk to me, because I'll help you. If you remember me from James's neighborhood, please reach out to me and talk to me, because I need to talk to more people who experience that. And my gut is that they're going to do everything they can to block me from those victims. They do it electronically. They do it by always surrounding me with somebody who's in the network. And then none of my traffic goes outbound on the internet without it going through one of them first. That's why I got the military to keep an eye on all my things, because the FBI was going to keep me in this information box until the end of time, pretending that they're investigating when they're really just covering everything up. So I keep confronting the FBI directly in multiple locations in multiple states saying, here I am. Would you guys like to see some of my articles? I can play them for you on my live stream right now. I can show you me in front of the Portland FBI Bureau, the Las Vegas FBI Bureau. I went and did over 10 reports in front of the Las Vegas FBI Bureau about human trafficking. And what I was learning in Las Vegas about human trafficking networks, offering them information from the sidelines. You know how much Las Vegas FBI Bureau has done about human trafficking since I got them all that information? Why? Because the number that handles human trafficking calls, 888-373-7888, is a big ruse. You may as well call the inventory hotline for people involved with human trafficking and say, got some fresh heads for you. And by heads, you may as well offer your own while you do it, because that's what's going to happen. That tips line is going to be used to get you and the victims of human trafficking. Why do you think the number is 888-373-7888? 3 is C, 7 is G. Cage, cage. And the number was funded by Harvey effing Weinstein. I'm not joking. I will get you the slides, guys. I'm going to show it to you. Everybody needs to see everything for how it really is. So since I have all this material here and I got lots of time, I'll look up all my information on Polaris and I'll show you guys. FBI Polaris. All right. All right. So I'm about to show you here is this is an old slide from the Polaris. Now, if you call 888-373-7888 and report a human trafficking tip, you're calling Polaris, and they're a nonprofit agency. They're not a government agency. They're not the FBI. The FBI has basically said, hey guys, I know that human trafficking is probably about the worst crime that can possibly exist, but we're too busy handling things involving drugs and guns and tobacco and things like that and financial crimes. So maybe we can get some nonprofit agency to handle all these calls. What do you guys think, huh? Guys, why isn't a nonprofit agency handling SEC calls? Why isn't a nonprofit agency handling calls about people not paying taxes on cigarettes? No. It's a nonprofit that handles human trafficking calls. So they can be funded by who? Let's take a look, guys. Let's take a look. All right, slides. All right, let's take a look here, folks. This is the Polaris hotline, like list of donations, like their main people that donate. So if you see there, this is what I called it: Polaris child trafficking reports back to Harvey Weinstein. These are all the different organizations and like different names of people that donate to it. You know, different celebrities, right? But take a look, guys. See, join the fight. Get action alerts and updates on human trafficking. Take action. You can make freedom happen now. All with the considerable funding of the Weinstein Family Charitable Foundation. Well, gee, thank you. I'm glad that the human trafficking hotline receives money from a serial rapist. Nobody sees the irony in this? Okay, guys. We are presented this as reality by the Federal Bureau of Investigation to accept. America, this is as good as we have for you a human trafficking hotline funded by Harvey Weinstein. That's the best we can do to find human trafficking victims in America. Guys, this is criminal. That one decision that the FBI made right there is a criminal decision. That is a criminal decision they made. They literally are finding ways to just go, that doesn't exist. That didn't happen, without it looking like that's what they're doing. They're handing over human trafficking victims, child trafficking victims, to elite celebrities and predators. They're letting it happen. And now, guys, I know that sounds like some QAnon conspiracy theory crap, but it's not. I have followed this going back since 2016. Why isn't anything being done about James J. Pettigrew, at least get my mother in for questioning about why she didn't do something? Why can't I get the FBI to do that? She obviously knows something. No. They silence all the victims. They harass them indefinitely. I promise you, I know people that would report, but they're afraid of the harassment. And I know why. I experience it daily. When you report on human trafficking, you will be obsessed and harassed like you would not believe. I've just learned to enjoy it. I pretend I'm a celebrity. I pretend that I'm Brad Pitt. I don't care. And I figure the more people that do it, the more it gives access to my military partners to know who's involved with human trafficking. And they always look like people that are creepy that do it. And then the thing is, like, I'm a flawed person, but they know me inside and out. My military partners, especially the ones that are vets that are my friends, they know all my like flaws. I admit to them. They know everything I do on the internet. I give them 24/7 access to my internet traffic, all of it. I did that for a reason. I wanted them to trust me, and I wanted to know that I could trust them. I wanted to know that we had a solid whatever from the sidelines, that we were actually like being real with one another. So I agreed to it. I said, you're going to see everything, guys. I'll be a real person with you. I'm not going to hide things about me. And you're right, Tina, they're protected worldwide. But see, I'm going to end that. And others that are with me are going to end that. They cannot hide behind their protection anymore. I'm bringing them all out in the open. And I'll tell you what, people who don't think that I've been the guy that's moved the needle, they're not paying attention. It's been me. I'm moving the needle. The Overton window, say, Benjamin Fulford just talked about this. I said this, guys, I predicted to you. And guys, I'm not proud of this part. I'm actually disturbed by. I told you, I said, I'm going to back them into a corner where eventually their activities are going to be revealed in relative to human exploitation and child exploitation. And when I do, you're going to find them trying to push the social engineering needle to accept it. I predicted this, guys. You can go back to my live streams and you'll see I said this over and over again. I go, you watch, I'm pushing these people. They're having to respond to me. They pretend I don't exist, but they know that I'm the golden goose to revealing global human trafficking and who's behind it. I am. Because my information is being concealed and denied, and the military knows it's true. So the FBI is jurisdictionally negligent. They're criminally negligent. So we've got a great case here, guys. I mean, congratulations. Like, I hope that those of you who, look, I don't want to promise you anything, but please have some confidence that I got the right attention in the right way, okay? I'm way different than the average person. I've got DC connections. When I was a child, my father served under Senator Warren Magnuson. We spent time in Washington, DC power circles. I was in the Congress, Senate. I was in mansions in DC as a kid at these parties. I remember reaching into a cooler and grabbing a Budweiser out when I was 5 years old and staring up at a bunch of dudes at one of these DC parties, taking a sip of the Budweiser and going, oh, I prefer Rainier. I was 5 years old and I already knew the difference between Rainier and Budweiser. Yeah, they're protected worldwide. But see, I'm different. I can't really be hidden with the way I did it. Like right now, like they can basically backdoor my network. So I can sit here in this coffee shop and they can go like, no one's seen you, Gabe. You're just talking to us. You're not really on the internet. I go, okay. But can you control the DOD from sitting out that parking lot and watching and listening to me? Can you? Can you keep veterans from showing up voluntarily to this Starbucks and just listening to me and seeing that I'm a real person that does not have my brother's tattoos on my legs? Like I'm going to show you now. No tattoos, guys. I'm not Joaquin. That's something that people need to know. Joaquin's got tattoos that are skull and crossbones and a radiation symbol. I wonder why. You suppose he has a radiation symbol and a skull and bones on his leg because, I don't know, that might be a sign that people die from radiation at somebody's hands and maybe they're proud of it? Hey, Kelly, I haven't seen that channel, but if you send me a link, I'll check it out. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Good to see you here. Yeah, what got me thinking about that is you may want to check out those. I mean, even if you're not a Catholic or like even Christian minded or whatever, there's some really fascinating interviews between Malachi Martin. He's a former Jesuit priest, and he's dead now, but it's between him and Art Bell from Coast to Coast AM, the former host, before he died too. But they did like 7 interviews with each other that are a few hours long each that are just completely fascinating. They get deep into these topics, all involving like they touch on it like briefly, things like radiation and its effects on the human body and the human mind. And Malachi Martin was saying in the 90s, before we even knew that much about like other forms of radiation, he was saying that, yeah, I was going to say O'Brien. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. But yeah, that's the kind of name you definitely hear at Catholic, Irish Catholic things. Yeah, definitely. So, so you understand at least. What I'm saying though is that, and Malachi Martin's Irish. Speaking of which, actually, yeah. So there you go, very Irish. But what I liked about Malachi Martin is that he was a Jesuit. I mean, he believed in Catholicism. He was a conservative Catholic, and he saw the corruption. He saw the things that were going down. He witnessed the protection of abusers that had populated the Catholic Church. He spoke out about it. He spoke out about bad decisions that were being made by the Pope at the time that were compromising the Catholic Church's beliefs. So regardless of what people think of Catholicism overall, I think he had a very healthy perspective on his faith, and his leaving the Jesuit order but maintaining his faith, I think, is a pretty honorable thing. It shows that he actually believed in it, but he had a separation between his ideology and what the official statements were by the church. And what concerned him, and that he expressed in the interviews over and over again, was that the church kept on denying evil, denying the existence of evil. And he said that's a really damaging thing to do. Like, to pretend that evil doesn't exist as a method of combating evil is not really the way you should do it. You have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge that it's an actual thing. And so he saw the damage of like denying that evil exists. It would manifest exactly as it did. You would find that Catholic bishops would go, well, that child didn't get abused. Again, that's denying evil exists. That's pretending that the problem isn't inside the church. And see, Malachi Martin wasn't willing to do that. He said, no, there's a problem in the church and we're going to deal with it. We need to deal with it. And so again, that made him very unfavorable. It made him a person that some people would reject within it. But I don't think you could argue that he was a person that was devout. He definitely maintained his faith. He was a good person. I think he was, at least, and he was an exorcist. And personally, guys, exorcisms and people being possessed was something that I would have like rolled my eyes at for many years, until you start to, like, in 2016, I actually started to witness some things that I didn't have any explanations for. I saw people go through extreme changes in behavior, and I literally saw things that would change in them physically as well as emotionally, where they not only would become emotionally different, they looked quite dead, like spiritually, and they seemed like the pigment in their eyes seemed to be turning blacker and blacker. Like there's something going on, guys, that needs to be acknowledged. That I think that if there isn't a few people who have a little bit of intelligence and ability to communicate it without sounding ridiculous, they need to be able to talk about it. And I'm sorry, guys, that sometimes that I ramble a little bit and I'm not the best messenger, but it's just because I have a lot of things on my mind that I don't always get them out cohesively when I do these things. Like, here I am in an hour, and, like, I've talked about like 10 different things. It was supposed to be the State of the Union, but yeah. Yeah. So again, guys, we have to at least know that evil exists, that there's things that are going on that are causing these cancers and behavior, and that it's a real thing. Wow. Yeah, guys, it's like, those of you who are experiencing some weird things right now, just stay strong, because it's going to get a little bit weirder. I think it's going to get a little weirder before it gets better, but we are on our way to things getting like markedly. I always get that wrong. Considerably better. There's a lot of events that are going. There's a lot of events that are going on right now. Guys, think about it. The Queen died in England. You had the Prime Minister step down over there. You had the Japanese Prime Minister experience something pretty significant. I mean, you've got like world leaders that are like being ousted, stepping down, or assassinated, or just dying, like, of major world powers. Guys, think about it. England is a major world power. It's always about London, the Vatican, and DC. Okay, guys, you had major shakeups, major shakeups in a third, at least, of the superpowers. And then I would argue America is just on its way to experiencing a similar shakeup, because this is an unsustainable state that we're currently in. It just we can't maintain this, guys. The best thing I can tell you, folks, is right now, what I was trying to explain, this is just getting ridiculous. What I was trying to explain to you earlier is, all right, I think that what Malachi Martin was saying about radiation having a larger effect on humanity is quite accurate. I think it's part of what motivated me to leave the wireless industry, because even though it's not the same kind of radiation that he was probably referring to, it is radiation. Okay. What do I mean by that? You have two types of radiation that it basically falls into: ionizing and non-ionizing. Okay. Most people consider one to be safe and one to be considered unsafe. I would argue that both have factors of both, meaning that there may be things involving ionizing radiation that are safer than people think, and there may be things involving non-ionizing radiation that are unsafer than people think, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of people are scared of all uranium and uranium water and uranium this, uranium that, where in all actuality, some of it might be quite safe depending on how it's manufactured, refined, or what state of natural it is in. You know what I'm saying? Like, perhaps what makes uranium dangerous is its refinement process, not its naturally occurring uranium. Because I've heard of people that were near uranium waters that considered it almost like a Ponce de Leon, like a fountain of youth. Like, it's like Indian tribes would talk about how they would find these underground caverns of waters that had high concentrations of uranium in them, and they would drink from them. So what's safe and what's unsafe, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that my personal role in this was that I was a wireless engineer and a wireless technician for many years, for like 2 decades. And I built 75 cell towers. I designed them and I engineered them from the ground up. And I had a crisis of consciousness when I watched the documentary. It wasn't just watching one documentary, it was a bunch of research. But I think my aha moment, the thing that really made me click with what Malachi Martin is saying, the thing that hit me was Resonant Beings of Frequency, a documentary about basically what I was explaining to you earlier, okay? Guys, if you're going to understand what's going on in the world right now, you have to understand the esoteric aspect of it, because the people in charge do. They know how to manipulate the collective consciousness through this process of the human brain, through your pineal gland, and how you shape reality. So if you think about your eyes as energy input output, that your brain does not receive light. Remember, your brain never receives light. How are you perceiving light? It's not getting to the back of your brain. Does the sun shine? Does it actually shine? Is it actually a glowing ball? I say it's not. I don't know, but I would argue that it's not. I say it works a lot like a negative photograph. I'd say you're experiencing an energy input, and that you're merely bending plasma relative to how that energy is going into your brain via, see how this is shaped like this? You got another one right here. By the way, it's, if you're wondering why at 37 after certain things are going on, you need to look into my zodiac research, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Right now it's 37 after, and you'll find that certain events that happen right then that I have no control over. On to the next thing. So this is one eye, this is another eye, and this is another eye. 1, 2, the eyes that you know about. It's not that light is shining into your face, it's that energy is pinging the curved lens of your eye. Remember this. Energy is hitting the convex lens right here. Guys, you spend enough time around seafood and fish, you'll understand all this. Stare at fish eyes all day long coming through a line. Fish eye, fish eye, fish eye. Different types of fish, the way they form their shapes, the way one fish becomes another fish. I promise you, your whole sense of physical reality will change. It did for me, because I thought I understood it before, but when I really started staring at fish all day, that's when I really got this whole thing about the convex lens and what we're all existing in. You know, like the whole flat earth versus round earth, it's all bogus. It's a bogus argument. It's not even something you should debate, because it's all plasma and we're bending it with a convex lens. So the math lines up with a curved model, but not because it is, it's because it's what we are creating. We're making it that way. We're making the math work. It's a shared agreement. We could bend it any way we want to, if you think about it, if we all share the same agreement. And this is the game that's played by the people in charge, is getting us to never understand that we actually have a say in this, that we can actually change what is done with the plasma field through shared agreements. Finding your tribe, learning more from each other, and then structuring a new reality through these shared agreements. So that's why I just get encouraged. Like, I see people, like I've got other friends that I talk to. I see people like Kelly and Tina here in the chat. Like, you're getting it, and I know you get it. So that's all I care about. Like, if it's just like 1 or 2 of you, and that's all we achieve, like in small amounts, that's enough to get us where we need to go, because then it keeps going and going and going. And then as we have shared agreements on what we perceive reality to be and how it's structured, other people begin to start to understand it. It's a cascading effect, because I know that some of you are like, I don't know what my deal is, guys. I have definitely a strong a biofield that radiates a little bit further than average. And those of you who also have it, all you have to do is have a realization, and then sometimes just the comfort of knowing that somebody else perceives it very similarly. And that begins to form the new reality. That begins, not even the new reality, but it begins to remove the false reality and begins to put into place the architecture for how we really do form physical reality using the biofield, if that makes sense. See, they tell us that it's all physical, that all begins as physical. Only focus on physical. You build things with physical. You create with physical. I say no, because nothing physical even becomes it's not manifested without an idea. You don't even think about how to put two items together to form a new item without it becoming an idea first. Then those two items physically get structured together from the biofield into physical reality. Fact, 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 fact. Cool. Oh, sorry, I didn't answer your question earlier though, Kelly. You asked if the Catholic priest schooling consists of like the energy stuff. I honestly don't know that. But I do think that the Jesuits are the ones that get that knowledge. I think if you're within the Catholic order, if you really get the bioenergy things, that's at the Jesuit level of understanding. That's like their master course of learnings. The same way it is with Freemasons or anybody else like that. I think that all of these groups, they only want certain people who have a certain type of morality to have the learnings and understanding of it, because what you can do with those learnings can be damaging. Once you know what the biofield is and how to perform mass resonance manipulation events, and you can get other people to do it with you, yeah, you're seeing the results of it, guys. This is what I've been reporting on. A whole family and a mafia of people that have been doing this for years and have been able to manifest a new physical reality through fooling people with false realities. They got all of us to form the reality that they wanted us to live in by fictionalizing and faking events for decades. And who are you going to listen to about this? I mean, my aunt's sister owns a crisis assault actor training program of crisis actors, and she was in the Department of Justice herself. And we know that nothing really actually happens with these cases. So if people aren't really being prosecuted, and she's that close to crisis actors, and the crisis actors replace the real cases, then what's really happening? Seems to me like they formed themselves a mafia that's at the highest levels of the Department of Justice that recruits the criminals, makes them into the larger mafia, then swaps the criminal case for a fictional one that's just like an episode of Law and Order. They take elements of the real case, mix it into a gumbo of a fake case that they present as reality to the public using their actors. They fake go to jail, fake get arrested, nothing ever gets done. Human trafficking continues. Rinse, repeat, and that's why they get in my face and go like, we get away with it, what are you gonna do? F you, Gabe. I can hack your network right in front of everybody. They do. That's why I had to get military involved, guys. And I'm telling you, like, that wasn't a bad decision. That was the best thing I could have done for my country. Because the FBI is going to sell us for pennies on the dollar. They don't care. I'm just being real. I've tried reporting these things to them, guys, and they really are criminally negligent. And I'm the kind of person that I always give law enforcement professionals like as much like I was very optimistic. I gave them a lot of consideration. Like, you know what? I have faith that if they get my information, they'll actually do something. I actually went in with that level of confidence. I'm like, well, no. They won't be happy with faking it or sweeping it under the rug this time. They'll know this is some real things. And they didn't do anything. And so really all they have that they can do is continuing that it's all fake. Like, nah, don't listen to him. You know, guys, just, you know, he's just an actor. He's just like, just to sweep it under the rug. So guys, that's literally what they do is they actually will send people to every single place that I go to and have them form these skits that tell people around, like, don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's doing disinformation, or he's got this in his history or his track record. And they'll always come up with something fake or false. You know why? To keep their network going, to keep getting paid for buying and selling people. Yeah. See, I don't worry about what happens. Like I leave my laptop open to military. I don't even put any security software on it, antivirus. I don't put any like VPN. I don't put any fancy whatever anymore. I mean, I don't. I leave it all open because I'm like, if somebody hacks into my machine, they're going to see something. Disclosure. Nothing bad. They're going to find disclosure material. And they're going to wish they never hacked me, because now they're stuck with that. Now they're stuck knowing the truth. And most people want to put their heads in the sand like an ostrich when they learn the truth. Let's see if I can do this to minimize that factor. It's an interesting dynamic, is it not? Okay. All right. Yeah, well, what I've learned is that sometimes that the way they make their sales and their deals is by backdooring my streams. Hint. So, again, guys, that's what pisses me off. It's because there's like not a lot I can do about it. And I've tried telling the people at the FBI and they let it happen. They know this is a system that they use. And I have proof, guys. I have confessions. I've got evidence. I've got slides, you know. Like what I just showed you, like that's nothing, man. Like I can show you all my PROACT material. Let's do that. I need to see like this thing involving the crisis actor thing is a real thing. It's not like I'm making this up. We have a whole network of crisis actors that are owned by. What's the best slide to show you? I should really show you one that actually gives you a visual of it. You know what, guys? I'm just gonna do it. I'm usually a lot more. I'm usually a lot more controlled with this, but. All right, guys, welcome to the family. This is my Department of Justice auntie. This is Catherine Horma, since I have an extra audience now. All right. This is going to take you step by step since I got a lot of time here. It's only 10:48. I got about 2 hours before anything's ready, so. Okay. That's my aunt there with that little bubble cloud. Now, that was just me being cheeky and wise-assy, so sorry about that. But that was her giving some presentation on cybercrime, and then I put my own slide over it. So hang on really quick. All right. So this is her, because I think that there's probably some people that have been hacking me lately that don't believe that this is what it is. But hang on, let me move this around. There we go. All right. So now you can see that that's actually Catherine Warma's, my aunt. That's her professional profile. I think that's from LinkedIn. And it says she was in the computer hacking and internet crimes unit. All right, that's her photo. That's them. That's her right here. That's Catherine right there. And that's Kim. Kim owns PROACT. That's them marching in DC. You can see the Capitol back there with the pink hats on because they were part of that whole protest against, you know, Donald Trump and all that. So I'm showing you guys that so you understand how their values are aligned. They're in charge of crisis actors. Okay. Crisis actors can also have the ability to perform what are called false flag operations, right? They have DC connections, Department of Justice connections. Kim has a whole series of actors. There's DC, there's DOJ connection, there's crisis actor connection. That's Kim. You can see that says Kim Warma. All right, right? And that's Catherine. Okay, this is PROACT. This is actually their slides showing that they're PROACT. That's the name of their company. And you can see right here, it says Professional Assault Crisis Training. This is their corporate records. PROACT, California. You can see their file number is C2750872. It shows them as active. That's their records in California. By the way, this vineyard address is really close to the neighborhood in Fontana that I reported from called the Hawthorns when I was doing all my Zodiac reporting material. And there shows Kim R. Warma is the officer of PROACT. And they are in fact related because that's them together inside Facebook profile. And that's this shows you the connection to my uncle Ricardo, okay? So Ruth was Catherine's mother, I think. I can't remember how this all works, guys. But anyways, this is just like an obit for one of Catherine and Kim's relatives, where it actually shows you. Here, let me just make that smaller. And you can actually see that it shows you that she is survived by her brother, and it says here, and her children, Catherine Warma, and then it shows you that Catherine Warma is married to Ricardo Cruz. And guys, Ricardo Cruz would be my uncle. So my uncle by blood is Ricardo Cruz. All right. So if you want to know how politically connected my family is, all you need to do is go back and find the records to know that Ricardo Cruz was appointed to the Seattle School District by Governor Gary Locke. Governor Gary Locke, let's look this up, guys. I'm going to show you now. So I'll just look up on my records here, Ricardo Cruz. Hang on. Oh, wow, this one's bad. I don't even know if I should share that with you guys. Okay, here we go. There's one case that my uncle was connected to involving the protection of some predators that were in the school district that assaulted a girl. And the boys that assaulted her were protected. I remind you, the boys that assaulted the girl wound up getting protected. They harassed one of the girls that witnessed the incident, and they had security footage of the incident from the school bus that was deleted. And the boys got protected and harassed the witnesses. That's what happens when the family's in charge. See, guys, they don't go after predators, they protect them. Remember that. But they'll pretend that they're the ones that go after them. So how do you think that makes me look? Being a person that actually is going after them. In earnest. See, I don't like being affiliated with this type of like history with these people. So I'm going to distinguish myself. I am not like this. And I don't want to be affiliated with them. I don't want my reputation muddied with their reputation that they get to hide behind official relationships and other garbage. So here we go, guys. I'll just read you really quick how my family's connected. I'll just read the beginning of this so you understand why people complain about my family. This is from Seattle Times, Audit Wraps County Hiring Office. It's from September 13th, 2000. King County's Office of Human Resources Management lost records and ignored county hiring policies in its own offices, and its former director hired acquaintances who were paid higher salaries than required by county rules, according to a report by the county auditor. The audit, which was released yesterday, covered the tenure of former director Ricardo Cruz, that's my uncle, from 1996 to 1999. Metropolitan King County Councilman Larry Gossett, Democrat, Seattle, requested the audit last year after hearing allegations of problems. Staff person after staff person came and pulled at my coat and said, "This is not right. The way things are going down in terms of employment opportunities at the office." Gossett said. County Executive Ron Sims, in a written statement, said that the Office of Human Resources Management has since changed practices, and that Assistant County Executive Bob Derrick was hired as director in July 1999, and that Laurel Sheridan was appointed to oversee all hiring decisions and keep proper records at the office. I would argue that was a cover-up, but I'm not going to get into that. Meaning to say that the people that were put in charge are just going to extend whatever he did and pretend that they're dealing with it when they're not. Quote, "If I had to hire somebody, I have to go through her," unquote, Derrick said. Ricardo Cruz, who was hired by former county executive Gary Locke. Now, guys, Gary Locke, I'll show you who he is in a second if you don't know. Cruz was hired by former county executive Gary Locke, left the office in June 1999, and worked briefly at the county the county prosecuting attorney's office. He now works with the Snohomish County Public Utility District. He did not return calls for comment. Of course. He doesn't to his own nephew, really, either. I get dismissive emails when I actually would still try to email him. The audit by County Auditor Kimberly Dutton Kruger found that the office was poorly managed, lagging years behind in filing of hiring records while losing many of them. Oh, wait, they lost records involving their own activities? wow, that sounds so familiar to a tactic these people use so frequently. Oh, we lost the records. We don't know what happened. Interesting, isn't it? For example, the office did not have hiring files for 12 of the 46 employees whose records the auditor looked at between 1996 and 1999. All the remaining 34 files had incomplete records, and 26 of them did not have papers showing there had been a competitive job search. See what I found when I looked into my uncle's hiring records? He hired a buddy of his who had a lifelong career with Disney. This guy went straight from being at Disney for over 20 years to being appointed to a major position as an administrator in the Seattle school district by my uncle. What kind of social engineering activities has Disney been into lately? What side is Disney on this whole thing, you think? Just being real, guys. Again, I've been a pretty progressive personality most of my life. I was very fight the power, rage against the machine. But let me tell you something. When you start learning what I've learned the last 5 years, you'll change your perspective radically when you know how many of these things are just total fiction. The things that they got you motivated and angry over these social issues about were fiction. Very frequently. They do it so people like me will think the way that I did. And we can all free ourselves from all of it. There is no left, right. There is no red, blue. It's all bullshit. It really is. It's not what you think. It's all feeding into a larger occult system. And the sooner you abandon it, the better. The sooner we all just agree to be like human to one another and just forget all this nonsense, the better. And that's what I started doing. I stopped forgetting about politics and I just started talking to people who just seemed to like understand things the way that I did. And I was completely trashed and maligned and abused and basically left to cast aside by the left. My information was too damning to their people in power, to where instead of like saying, you know what, we have some internal problems we need to fix, they decided to reject me and take a shit on me. And they treated me horribly, and they still do. No internal accountability, and that's why they lost credibility with me. That's why I have no respect for them. It's like if you guys won't deal with child abusers inside your, and you have them, keep acting like you don't, because it's not true. I have proof of it. I can show how you, as a political organization in tandem with your partners, have in fact protected elite child predators for many decades. I have evidence, direct evidence. Nothing right. Somebody kind of heard something and said something. No. It's direct. It points directly to it in an ecosystem of people that do it. And I'm showing it to you. And yet, the FBI is still going, I don't see it. I don't see it. Let's keep going, guys. I'm going to show you what the FBI still doesn't see. Okay? All right. So that's the ways into the school district. Governor Gary Locke appointed Ricardo Cruz, my uncle, to Seattle School District, where he then brought in all of his cronies. Why? To change the culture of the schools. To change the culture of the schools. And that has what effect? It changes the ideologies of the children. It changes their education in a major population center in the Northwest. It literally changes and forms the values and ideas and the learnings of an entire decade, maybe 2 decades of children. That's the kind of power he really had. And if you don't understand that, you're not paying attention. You think that that's an insignificant position? I would argue that that's maybe even more powerful than a governor. Because you're literally placing people in charge of all the children in a major metropolitan area in the Northwest. And you're bringing in Disney, you're bringing in Hollywood to manage their education and their learning. And look what we have today after. And guys, I found a surprising number of people that came out of Hollywood that were, actually cramping up. Oh my God. My legs are cramping, guys, sorry. But a lot of people that were coming into Hollywood, wow, were from Seattle. Like actors and actresses were becoming popular more and more from Seattle in that era. And that's not a coincidence. They're being granted access. I mean, guys, like my Aunt Catherine, her daughter, her first job, her first major position out of college, having no radio experience, and frankly, no offense to her, not even that great of a voice. She wound up on a top 40 radio station in Seattle. And then after she left that radio station, she wound up on ESPN 710 radio and hosted her own sports show. Do you think these people aren't connected? And guys, now that you know that, and you know how good I am at this, and how much truth I speak, what a good speaker I am, I'm a pretty good personality when it comes to communicating things. But I have been granted none of this access by this very powerful family. So let me ask you something. What do you think you have to do to become a radio personality and be a cruise? Because I promise you, talent, a good voice, and the ability to talk for hours won't get you there. You got to be able to make the deals. You got to be willing to do the deals, to pass the codes, to the cryptograms. So I'm going to show you a clip about my cousin Lydia here in a little bit, relative to how all this works, so that you can understand what I'm telling you. So you can understand like where the problem is, guys. You need to see how power is kind of concealed and hidden relative to Seattle to understand the larger problem. Because you see how Gary Locke appointed my uncle Ricardo to Seattle School District, right? Okay. He marries Catherine Warma, who winds up in the Department of Justice, Cybercrime Division. Do you know that almost no crime can occur in Washington State without it involving computers? That means effectively Catherine and her team could basically stonewall nearly any major investigation involving human trafficking that was computerized. They could swap that case for a fake one if they wanted to, because they had the ecosystem of crisis actors, did they not? See, if Catherine, I'm saying if, I'm not saying she did. I'm just saying if Catherine and Ricardo were a mafia and they wanted to recruit criminals, they had a perfect ecosystem through which to do it. And since, as far as I can tell, real criminals don't seem to get prosecuted in the United States, they get swapped with crisis actors. And her sister owns a crisis assault actor training program. And then you got Joaquin at SAIC and Leidos in the 90s, the same time Uncle Ricardo was there at Seattle School District. Well, you see, SAIC and Leidos, they're the ones that have the back doors to the entire internet. They bought a company in 1995 called Network Solutions that basically gave them all the domains, .com, .gov, .mil, yes, Marines.mil, Air Force.mil, Navy.mil, managed by Science Applications International Corporation. And would you like to find out more about that company, guys? It's run by Nazi King. People, it's people, they just don't believe this, but you have to show them. Nazi King. This is not bullshit, guys. There she is, head of SAIC, Nazi King. They love puns. So the queen of SAIC is Nazi King. The queen who's a Nazi. You know why? Because she's the cover. She's the cover for the Nazi King. Not sick king, Nazi king. Not sick king, Nazi king. Who's the Nazi king? All right. That's what we're dealing with, guys. Like the same time that all that was happening with Seattle school districts, my big brother, Joaquin Cruz, Joaquin, Nazi King, Joaquin, I don't know. You figure it out. Joaquin was beginning his career at Science Applications International, where old Nazi King right now. Nazi King is in charge of where Joaquin began his career. And while Joaquin was where Nazi King was at, they took control over the internet with network solutions. And if that weren't enough, you guys, they got access to every single phone number pool that's managed, international codes and all of it, through companies called iConnective and Telcordia. This is where my telecommunications experience will be of great use to you guys, because I did spend 20 years in the telecommunications engineering field. And so when I approached my big brother about all this information, he goes,
I don't know what you're talking about, Gabe. You got potential, baby bro. Way to go. Way to win one for the team.
he's such a wanker, dude.
You got potential, bro.
If it weren't so, guys, I have to find humor in it anymore, because these people are beyond, they're beyond corrupt. And the lack of like movement on this by the FBI is telling. And I'm going to keep doing as many of these presentations in as many public ways as I can to demonstrate how the FBI is protecting the child abuse networks, is protecting the human trafficking networks, is actually running interference on the military trying to defeat those things. They're actually interfering. I would argue, guys, that what we have going on right now, as far as the State of the Union goes, you want to know the real State of the Union? You want me to tell you what's really going on? It's basically a civil war, where it's the Federal Bureau, Hollywood, and uranium as one team versus military, veteran, and patriotic white hats in America. That's what you got. And the problem is that the people who are on the dark side have Hollywood, have the mainstream media, have the news cycle, have the ability to fictionalize events to make you get really upset over nothing and motivated to do the wrong things to the wrong people. And they'll always get you to think that the people that are doing the right thing are the ones that are aggressive, oppressive, fascist, Nazi. No. They're going to try to convince you that when the military has to do some of the things they're going to do, and they're going to have to, guys, because we're in a civil war, whether you want to believe it or not, they're going to try to convince you via the media cycle. Yeah, it does actually, but that's okay. They're going to try to convince you via the media cycle that this isn't true, that it's not happening when it is. They'll get you all distracted by, fictional cases like, yeah, I don't know, Yoji, I don't know what universe you're in. I mean, you can disagree with me, but if you say King doesn't sound like Keen, I don't know what universe you're in. That's exactly how they do play on words. Keen and King sound a lot alike. They're hardly different. It's the g at the end that's the difference. That's the only thing that makes the difference between those two phrases. If as far as phonetics go, keen and king, it's the g at the end. That's the only difference. But we can disagree on that one. That's okay. I'm open to that. Okay, guys. Man, there's a lot of vibration going on here. It's trippy. All right. So let's keep going here, because like if I don't keep going like this, there's something that's vibrating right now and it's like making it hard to think. All right, so you've got the Department of Justice link basically allowing cybercrime to occur, and a network that's in place within Seattle, Washington, the cybercrime division, that's allowing crimes to happen by a certain group of people. They fake prosecute and fake arrest crisis actors that are basically Hollywood creations and fictions. This is done with the participation of certain insiders at the FBI who love these cases where they get to swoop in and arrest somebody without any risk to them personally. You see how great this is for them? They don't take on any risk. They're just another actor in a scenario. The people that took on the risk recruited the bad guys. So they don't take on any risk either. They actually integrate them in and make them official members of a larger umbrella organization that is this Hollywood Uranium Federal Bureau partnership of fictionalizing events. And if you want to know what's behind that, it's Nazism. That's the American Nazis that have been partnering with the German, Italian paperclip Nazis that came in 1945 and have changed our media, changed Hollywood, have been behind the entire uranium drilling economy, the underground tunneling economy, the human trafficking economy is largely led by Nazis. Operation Paperclip Nazis that we trusted to come into our country in 1945 and gave a red carpet to. A criminal act, if you ask me, but I understand that it was, I think that some people did it on purpose. Okay. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate you joining. Good to see you here. I always like seeing you here, Susan. So thank you. But yeah, that's really what we're dealing with now here, guys, is that since 1945, we've just gotten used to Nazis informing for us, like telling us news, feeding us films, telling us what's going on in space. Guys, right there should tell you everything. We entrusted 3 Nazi SS scientists with NASA. Wake up. Wake up, America. That's your problem. Werner von Braun was a Nazi SS. They concealed his affiliations and made him seem like he was not devout. Oh, he was devout. Everybody in NASA was a devout Nazi. Okay? Not everybody, but the 3 major figureheads that you see there, was it Goering, von Braun, and one other? They were behind all of it. Yes. So what I'm telling you guys is that you've been handing over billions of dollars to Nazis going all the way back decades. And then they say, okay, America, now we're going to deliver you all of your news and information on a satellite broadcast cable system that we're going to distribute across your entire country. But don't worry, you can trust this feed because Nazis say so. You guys don't understand the voodoo we're in? They launched the satellites. Werner von Braun launched satellites with other Nazis, allegedly, that feed us our news channels and tell us what to think and how to be entertained, complete with laugh tracks. And this has been going on since what, the late 60s, early 70s, since, whenever broadcast satellite began. And they were already handling entertainment before then. I'm just telling you, like, that's when this really became the Great Deception. Because ever since then, nothing is fed to us via broadcast satellite without it passing through a Nazi's approval. And if you don't understand what that means, you still don't get it. You still don't understand our civil war and what we are existing in right now. This civil war is global. Every country that's a major world power is dealing with this right now. An infestation of Nazism and what it's doing to their entire country. My parents lied about their Nazi connections. My mother was born smack in the middle of Nazis in Tule Lake, California, and has 0 stories to tell about Nazis. She was literally born right when the German Italian Nazis arrived at the Tule Lake segregation camp in Northern California. She talks all about Doris and MacDowell and Tule Lake, and we've been taken out there and visited and everything. And she's got not a single story to tell any of her children about the Nazis that were populating the entire town. I mean, what do you think's going on, guys? This is their voodoo. You do not see the Nazis. So when I'm telling you, like, when I show you this company here, guys, my mother says, I didn't see any Nazis, even though I was born in the middle of a camp filled with 1,000 of them. My brother spends time at an organization run by Nazi King His name is Joaquin. He's there right when they take control over the internet and the phone system, then goes on to a major position at the National Security Directorate that controls our phone system, our information flow on the internet, where he gets to observe every action, manipulate data sets, change data sets, and monitor data sets. And you're wondering where the problem is. Did I also mention the company that he was at, Leidos, handles all the airport security for millimeter wave scanners? Yeah, so when you're trying to get drugs through the airport, it's Joaquin's company, Leidos. Lie dos, the second lie. Dos is two in Spanish. They love doing Spanglish, guys. The mafia, they love Spanglish cryptograms. Ese, I see. Órale, ese, I see. They love faking being Mexican. Órale, ese, I see. Dude, my name is Cruz. But am I? Am I really a Cruz? I'm asking the same question. I'm being real with you guys. I honestly don't know if I'm genuinely Mexican. What I do know is if you have German Italian lineage, you can blend in as Mexican, you can be Italian, you can be Arab, you can be Moroccan, you can be Greek, I could blend in as about a dozen different ethnicities as long as I can make the accent fit and you believe me. Right, Nazis? And they've done it globally. They did it with their Moorish roots. They did it with that northern Spain, Sicilian blood, mixing in with the Germans. Then they can look ethnic. Just like me, I can look ethnic. I can go all kinds of different places. If I have a dark enough tan, I can blend in as a totally different race even. And you would, if I told you I was a different race, you'd have to believe me. Would you not? I'm telling you about this, you guys, because I've recently experienced some types of corruptions like this where guys try to present themselves to me as being from a certain country that I knew were lying to me, telling me they're from some Pacific Island nation or country or whatever like that when I knew they were from Southern California and were some gangster, or telling me they were from Puerto Rico when I knew they were just from the South. Because this is how they swap identities. This is how the Nazis do everything. You can't criticize me. I'm Puerto Rican. No, you're a Nazi with Moorish blood. You just got the Moorish roots, so you can blend in with them. Doesn't mean that you're a good person or that you're standing up. It's like Public Enemy has a song called The Night Train. Because they got the same skin, you think they're down for the cause because their face is looking just like yours. No. See, stop thinking that way, everybody, because it's got nothing to do with that. You know how irrelevant race is when you really get down to it? Do you know what race really is? Do you know what your ethnicity really is? Sure, it's cultures, foods, and develop over time. But we become what we are based on environmental conditions of geography. That's it. So if you want to make that big a deal about it, that's fine. But that's all it is. It's conditioning of weather relative to you over generation after generation. I'll give you an example. If you're an Eskimo, what's going to happen to you over time? Why do you think an Eskimo looks the way an Eskimo looks? Because the snow and the cold weather is doing this. It's going. So they're used to covering themselves up and going like this while the snow and the cold weather beats against their skin, and their skin gets harder. It adapts to the weather. Their eyes get squintier because it's colder weather out over time. And then generation after generation adapts similarly, and it changes the physical look of the individuals. But at the end of the day, guys, we're all part of the same human race. We're all part of the same biofield. So I'm not saying this is something like we're all the same. We're all just unique snowflakes, but we're the same. It's not like that. I'm just saying that, like, it's not really that relevant when you really think about what race is. So stop like forming your affiliations and your alliances and all of this whatever over that. Prejudice and bigotry is not worth your time. What's in the soul of the person you're looking at? What are their values? What are they about? Because that's what Nazis believe in. Nazis really, I know guys, they've convinced you that it's all about an Aryan. It's about a shared belief system and where you will fit in it. Then you be a Nazi. And Nazis are multi-ethnic and they're from all different countries and all different colors. And the people don't want you to know that. People in India told me that. That was the first exposure I had to that information. I thought to myself, that's crazy. Then I had a lady tell me that Mexicans are Nazis sometimes. And I said, you're crazy. And then I found out for myself, there are Mexican Nazis. I call them Mexi Nazis. There's a whole bunch of them that went down there to, where do you call it? Sorry, guys, I might need to relocate because there's like a distraction thing that's going on. And I kind of know how it works. It kind of, they do things that get the corner of your eye. So hang on really quick. Give me a second to actually, give me a second, guys, to actually do a reset up here real fast. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to put you on mute. Hey, guys, give it about 3, okay? I'm going to put you on mute. I'm going to take a 3-minute, okay? And I'll be right back. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Can y'all see me? Hopefully the signal's still good. Oh, Mama Sue, you just mentioned John Travolta. It's funny that you said that actually, because I don't know if you followed my research much, but I've mentioned this, that there's a connection between who is it? I can't remember his name. It's oh god, Ostrander. He's got a connection to this actor named Ostrander that was in the movie. It's another Brian De Palma. No. It's John Carpenter. Brian De Palma did Carrie, but John Carpenter did the film Christine. And if you watch Christine, about the killer car, the Stephen King book, right? John Carpenter made the movie. And inside the movie, there's a scene where like the guys, like they steal the Christine car, they break into the shop where he's restoring it, repairing it, and they do like a reversal on the whole Grease scene of Grease Lightning. So I don't know if you guys remember, but in John Travolta in the film Grease, there's the whole scene in go Grease Lightning, yeah, Grease Lightning, go Grease Lightning. So we can take Nazi King off there. Wow, they're playing Aphex Twin. Now that's something I didn't expect. Wow, dude. I never expected to hear Aphex Twin at this Starbucks. That's trippy to me. Okay. It really threw me off, man. Anyway, but yeah, there's a whole scene where this guy Ostrander plays the guy. Hang on, real quick. All right. So if you watch Christine though, and you watch Grease, this is like I wish I could actually show you this, okay? But there's a scene in Grease. Watch the scene Grease Lightning, the way John Travolta was like, "Go Grease Lightning, go Grease Lightning, yeah." Okay, watch that scene. Just go find that on YouTube, okay? Then watch the film Christine and find the scene where they like completely destroy the car. Like all the guys that like hate the kid that fixes Christine the car, they all go and attack his car inside the shop. It's like a reversal of the scene in Grease where they restore the car, but in Christine they tear down the car. It's like when you get what they're really doing with these two films, it's kind of like it opens up something as far as your greater understanding of what's done within Hollywood and reality in general. Like what I told you earlier about how we perceive light, about how the light does not go to the back of the brain. So what do you really like? If I look up and I see the sun and it's shining down on me, what am I really seeing? Is it actually a big, bright, glowing ball? Or am I actually seeing the inverse? Does it appear to be a glowing, vibrant, fiery ball because it's actually a vacuum, or it's actually a pulsating black energy source of antimatter, and that my brain receives it as light? I see light when I get the pulsing of the signals of the sun. And maybe the moon is something that's like, just magnetism, and it's just the electrical field and the magnetic field. And then where my brain is in between these two things, that bends the plasma field the way it's being bent. That's what we're all experiencing, right? Things in Hollywood, guys, because they do those things because it's how reality is structured. They know how to change physical reality, like a news story, like what's broadcast satellite does. I'm explaining to you that, like, Michael Franti of the band Spearhead, he used to have a band called Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy that did a song called Television Drug of the Nation. It goes, television, drug of the nation. breeding ignorance and feeding radiation. Nothing could be truer. It was the Nazis' greatest weapon. They have soft cooed the entire world into believing a fictional reality with just simple media control and a team of people with common beliefs and values that are willing to fictionalize and fake things, then have them rebroadcast on the satellite that we all go to learn the truth. Being performed by actors on a world stage, all to change physical reality. And look around, because physical reality got changed. But you guys understand how we can change it back. I have cat's eye, actually. So Mamasu put, sorry, it wasn't really the topic I was going to talk about, but you are bringing up some interesting things. Yeah, guys, there's a lot of interesting things going on in cat's eye, too. That first story with James Woods, especially, where he tries to quit smoking. Yep, a lot of disclosure in that. Otherwise, it's kind of a silly movie, but wow, it's cold out here. All right, guys. I'm trying to think what to do here. I need to give you some material to kind of show you how everything forms, okay? And I got a little bit sidetracked. So I was kind of showing you how my Uncle Ricardo and my Aunt Catherine have sort of this power structure in Seattle, Washington. My uncle got access to Seattle School District through Governor Gary Locke. My aunt has access to power via the Seattle Cybercrime Division of the Department of Justice, computer hacking, intellectual property, that kind of thing, computer hacking division. Now she's retired, okay? I get it. My uncle's no longer a Seattle School District. I Sorry, guys, I got dumped offline again. I don't know how much you heard or didn't hear. I'm gonna have to go back inside. It's just distracting, guys. There's all kinds of crap that goes on. Where it's like you try to there's like a tactic that's used. Here, let me do this. It's like, imagine if you're trying to focus on something and concentrate, and it's just, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of psychological whatever 101s. They learned this thing about doing this, like right off the side of your eyes, kind of going. It's almost like a legal thing, like doing like this. And then if it's just outside, like right, like the side of your eye or whatever, like that, it'll just be hard to think after a while, because it's almost like somebody's like doing this to your face. All right. And the music's just annoying as shit. Quite frankly. What are you going to do, man? You got to do something someplace. It's kind of interesting to see the Rebecca Network do their whole thing and line up. I'm going to remind the Rebeccas that I'm a very public personality when it comes to fighting human trafficking. And so when Rebeccas do their little disinformation things and like put me on the organ harvesting list, and we all kind of know why. All right. Hang on. All right. So what I was going to do is show you guys like a story involving, I'm not sure I can actually pull this off because the audio plays inside the speakers. And so I'd have to actually kind of like make it kind of loud. And I don't want to do that, but I guess I could try, unless there's a way for me to present video material on here without it actually playing over the speakers. This StreamYard software has changed a lot. Extra camera, slides. Let's see here. Video file, I might be able to do that. All right. So let's loop back a little bit once more, okay? We're talking about my family. Going back to 1945, having Operation Paperclip Nazi affiliations and hiding that from the population. Then getting key positions in major areas, major population centers within education and energy and defense, intelligence, and justice. And then you have that's known more broadly based on like public materials. Then I tried to tell you about how there's that secret media connection, okay, how they actually have hidden media influence. And one of the telltale signs of it is that Ricardo and Catherine's daughter, my cousin Lydia, her first job in radio was on a top 40 radio station on the morning drive. Now, guys, Seattle is a major radio broadcast, like market where advertising is very expensive. You don't get your first job in radio on a top 40 radio station's morning drive unless you're pretty connected or very, very talented. And it's no offense to my cousin, but no, I would not put her in the category as being enormously talented when it comes to a radio voice. I'm just being real with you. I've heard her broadcasts, and I'll play them for you if you'd like to hear it. Actually, that's probably the best thing for me to do because I need more coffee anyways. And she actually kind of sounds like an annoying substitute teacher on the radio, to be honest with you, which makes me wonder. It's one thing if you like win a contest or something like that to get your first radio job, not to sound like a hater to or anything else like that. It's just that, it makes me wonder, like, if my family's this connected to where they can get radio positions, how come I don't have one? I have a pretty good voice, you guys. I mean, I do. I can sing pretty good. I have a pretty good voice for radio and things like that. But this family's never blessed me with that kind of whatever. And again, there's no jealousy. I don't need to be famous or I don't need to be known. I kind of prefer not to be. But you see what goes on. See, I'm not willing to do the deals. I'm not willing to say the things that are supposed to be said. So they'll never let me on a major radio station. I'm not willing to go get on a radio and go like, yeah. So this team I'm interested in, I'd like to trade this dream team I'm thinking of. I'm going to trade one young controllable asset for another young controllable asset because it's just about trading players and we don't really care, right? We're talking about baseball though, right? We're not talking about something else. We're definitely talking about baseball, right? Because that's the kind of things they do, guys. They refer to players as young controllable assets and act like they're talking about sports. And I'm going to show you this article so you know what I'm talking about. I'm not just making this up. Hang on really quick. The freaks come out at night. Yeah, Mamasu. Yeah, Rebecca or Assembly is spelled Rebekah, like the Germanic. Not surprising, but they got so many Nazis there. Let's see here. So I got to go to my channel. All right. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear this, but Click here, present, share screen. I don't necessarily have to play the whole article, but I'm not even sure if it's going to play properly. But let me take out the headphones here, and I'm going to try to play this for you. So sorry if the audio changes a little bit here.
About artificial intelligence and how it's
Hopefully you guys can hear that. I'm not
rolled out in the press and laws that are constructed to.
Okay, I'm going to play this just briefly, and hopefully you can hear it. I know the music's kind of loud in the background. I apologize for that. I can't do anything about it. But hopefully the speakers play directly into the microphone well enough to where it actually, you'll hear the article. But I'm going to put subtitles on at the same time. But this kind of gives you an idea of like this connection between. So this is about the cousin of mine that's related to the Department of Justice auntie and the Gary Locke connected uncle. Okay. And she's the one that got gifted a position into radio basically out of whatever. And so it just helps you understand like why I got concerned, because once I saw these relationships and I noticed how my cousin, it's like I would hear her talking about sports kind of, but it doesn't really sound like she's talking about sports. It sounds like her and this guy are talking about something else completely differently, and they're just using the sports conversations as a front. Just being real. I don't know definitively, but it's just one of those things where maybe you can hear it and you can decide for yourself, and I'll let you do that. And I'm going to let this play for about 10 minutes or so, and I'll be back.
Accommodate AI in China. The reason why I did that is because it kind of highlighted an interesting issue about how, you know, they ban puns in newspaper articles and things like that, you know, because they're sarcastic, they're ironic. You know, they imply one thing when they mean another. So culturally, you can see how this creates problems between different nations, right? Because like I've talked about in some of my other articles about colloquialisms and things that are specific to regions, well, sarcasm and irony heavily play into that and can also create confusions within individual nations, let alone between other nations. And since we're in a society now that's increasingly global in nature, and we do have partnerships across the world, and we do have to be conscientious about how they interpret our symbols, our language, our data. You know, it's fair to start examining our culture a little bit more closely to see if we're employing sarcasm and irony in ways that, mind you, well, we don't want to lose our humanity, right? Because part of what makes us human is sarcasm and irony. You know, I use Bill Murray as an example. He has a very dry sense of humor. I just don't always know that it translates well to people in different areas, let alone within our own country, right? I find the guy really funny personally, but, you know, that's an opinion, right? That's an individual thing. But, and there's a movie called Lost in Translation, directed by Sofia Coppola, that really discusses this issue specifically. So I'd encourage people to give that a view to kind of see how what I'm about to talk about plays into this all. Because I'm thinking in terms of, you know, knowing now that we're in a surveillance culture where it's pretty much difficult to avoid where you're not going to be in the presence of a microphone, whether it be through a smartphone, you know, one of these devices that are like smart home devices that listen for commands and things like that, or gaming consoles that listen for commands. There's too many devices now that are just there to help people that are utilizing artificial intelligence and are plugged in 24 hours a day. So there's almost no way of avoiding that everything that you say at some point will be translated directly from your speech over to a text file in some format and then translated by an outside entity, and they have to review it and analyze it, or a machine has to review it and analyze it more specifically, because let's face it, this much data collection, it's impossible for human beings to be going through all of it, and there wouldn't be an interest in doing that. They couldn't possibly have that much staff. So really, you have to ask yourself, why would there be laws in place to accommodate things like that in China, except that, you know, they must understand that AI will be taking part in analyzing data, so they want to avoid sarcasm puns. Now, we have cultural differences here, so I'm not going to tell you if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just going to explain that, you know, from China's perspective, you can understand, and me thinking it through a little bit about how their entire language structure is different than ours, Mandarin and other formats. Very different symbols, letters. if you study general semantics, you'll see that there's radical differences between languages like Russian and Chinese, Mandarin, and languages in those countries to English and languages that are more European, Latin, or Germanic. And so you have to take that into consideration when you're dealing with other nations and other continents and other countries. How do they interpret symbols, and how do they, more importantly, decrypt symbols, based on reviewing our data. So, and so I'm just thinking about how I get confused in our own culture here because I'm trying to interpret things that are going on myself, right? And I was just thinking in terms of, I talked a little bit about, I have family members that have done intelligence work and things like that, and what got me thinking about this, and I'm just trying to find a way to have an open discussion about this with everybody, is that I told you about my Aunt Catherine. I don't have much communication with her, haven't in many years, and I haven't talked to her. My cousin Lydia, who's a radio personality on ESPN Radio in Seattle. I don't really know them that well. I needed people that kind of know that I am related to them, and that because I am aware of my aunt's relationship.
Hey, this is my DOD party. You may want to come check this out.
And there's been these public articles about it. I just have to be open with folks. And, I don't know them that well, and I haven't talked to these people in a long time. But, it's just my nature to sort of review things objectively. They're brought to my attention. So I wanted to use this as an example to sort of discuss how language can create confusion, and the use of slang and things like that can create confusion. Because as I was studying the Love family and things like that a little bit closer, I started noticing that they have this common nomenclature, or rather a naming convention, where they change the last name from the original one over to the country name of Israel, and so then they become the name for the virtue. So they change the name to virtuous Israel, or brave Israel, or courageous Brit. You see where I'm going with that. And there was other groups that were similarly wired and had similar formats where they were doing the same thing. Like the Source family would change their name to I can't remember what they changed it to. The point is that people, they take on a new name. Okay. And so I started wondering, is this model been copied in other places? Because I tend to notice that a lot of sports figures, athletes, quite a few actors, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, that have been kind of newer actors that I've never heard of before. Their names don't seem entirely authentic, and I keep seeing this as a trend. They're just not names that I've ever heard of. I don't want to get into specifics about it, but I think you'll understand what I'm talking about if you start looking at some of these newer college athletes and actors, and especially commentators on mainstream media networks. They just have last names that you've never heard of, and when you go to research them, you're going to find what appears to be some bogus history. So the point is that in doing research about language and things like that, and these issues, I found a clip where my cousin Lydia, who's Catherine's daughter, is on ESPN Radio talking to this guy Brock Howard, about a trade involving a professional athlete. And it just got me thinking about the way that we interpret language, because she repeatedly, and please forgive me for making note of this here, because I don't know if the feed that I'm getting is the original feed or if somebody's swapped it out for something else. So that deserves inspection too. So I want to make that clear here. There aren't matching subtitles to the clip, so I'm going to put that on here so people can kind of see it before I play it. But I just wanted to highlight this as just an example of the way that language can be used in a way that's sort of confusing, because in this clip you'll notice that she's going to make reference to a player as a young controllable asset, and they between her and Brock, they do this about a few times, and they repeat this phrase over and over again. So I kept asking myself, it's a relatively short clip, so that they keep saying the words young controllable assets is a little bit concerning to me. And so I had to ask myself, is this the original audio, or did somebody swap it out? So I'm going to play this for you, and then I'll be back.
I think it's a good deal. I mean, it's tough to see after Tyler O'Neill's just mashing up AAA right now, hitting home run after home run, but he's still striking out considerably, and he's not a guy that's really probably going to come up and hit for average. Meanwhile, you've got all these athletic outfielders up here right now. You've got a little bit of a surplus to work for, and you need arms.
This is one of your blue chip guys. This is one of your top prospects.
Sure.
And this does fit into Jerry's mode of I want young, controllable,
Like for like.
talented, like for like. Like for like. Okay, yeah, we have a need in the outfield. We have a need for pitching. Let's get a deal done.
I like it.
Is this answer, is this your Justin Verlander? Is this your guy with big league experience? Is this your track record that you feel good about? You put right in the middle of your rotation? No, it is not. No, it is not. This is your young, controllable asset. You're giving up one of your young, controllable assets from a position of strength for you. Definitely a position of need for your team.
Talk about best of both worlds for me, though, because I don't have to feel upset. It's just one of my teams is trading with the other.
That's true.
So
That's true. There you go.
Okay, so you notice how in that clip, they say,
Look, guys, I'm just going to be real with you. You heard that, right? That was my cousin Lydia on ESPN radio. Now I'm just asking, like, if you're me, guys, I don't feel comfortable doing this. I feel like kind of an asshole. But what would you think? Because that sounds horrible to me. That does not sound like they're talking about sports. They need arms. They need arms. Yeah, I don't really have to be upset because I'm just trading one young controllable asset for another young controllable asset. It's not really a problem. You're talking about sports? You're talking about sports. Really? You're not talking about guns and people being traded. You need arms. You need arms. It's done on the radio. It's done on MSNBC's news broadcasts. You think they're talking about one thing, but they're actually talking about another. 9 times out of 10. Because who controls these broadcast media outlets and convinces you it's about one thing when it's really about another? You want to hear it again, guys? Because that shocked the hell out of me when I heard it. And no one in my family has a good explanation for why I have relatives that are sitting here wanting, all right, let's get a deal done. You want to trade one young controllable asset for another young controllable asset? Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Guys, they're not talking about sports. They're talking about people. Even if they're talking about sports, they're still talking about people. And they're calling those people, quote, young controllable assets. Now, guys, I don't know what trip she's on. I don't know that that's what she's talking about. I don't know. I'm saying it looks really bad. And again, guys, this is going to sound like I'm jealous, but it's not that. I'm just saying to yourself, like, if this family has this much influence and clout to get somebody with talent into radio, wouldn't I be a shoo-in? I have a pretty good voice. And if you need me to sound more douchebaggy and more like Brock, I can sound like Brock. What kind of radio voice do you need? I can sound like it. You want me to be on ESPN radios talking like this all the time? I can do it. I can do it. I can talk like this. I can talk like this for hours. How do you want me to talk? How do you want me to talk? You want me to do the cadence? You want me to do the cadence? Let's get a deal done. Let's get a deal done. It's not that hard. But I'm not willing to do that. So I guess because I'm not willing to talk about one thing when it's really about another, I'm never going to get a job on ESPN 710 radio. I'm never going to get a job on Top 40 radio in Seattle. I'm never going to be gifted with media influence by the family. Because I'm not willing to call human beings young controllable assets and hint that they might be getting traded behind the scenes. Sorry, family, sue me. Because I'm sick of this. I'm sick of everything staying like static like this and nobody doing anything about anything. I want somebody to do something. Sue me. Sue me. You got enough lawyers, sue my ass. I want discovery. I want to put as much into evidence as I possibly can. Please sue me. I'm sick of it. Martyr my ass. Please do it. Because I promise you, I've been here in this Astoria and along the Oregon coast getting people's attention. Global attention. Global. People from countries all over the world can just float in on a ship and watch me talk. What do you think I've been doing the last 6 months? This revolution will not be televised. You got to witness it. And they witnessed it. They came out and watched me, and I negotiated things. You can believe it or not, guys. You're sitting here looking at me with my hair looking like this and this stupid beanie. But Gabe's not significant. He's not negotiating anything. But I am, and I did. And it's going to work out for most Americans. Don't worry about it. You know who's going down? Traffickers. You know who's going down? Corrupt FBI, corrupt DOJ. Do you know who's going down? Human traffickers. Do you know who's going to succeed going on in this country? The other 99.9% of America. They're all going to be okay because they're no longer going to be under the thumbs of global human traffickers. And I'll tell you why. About 2 years ago, to be straight up with you, I could tell that there was something going on between my family and Russia. I know you're going to say, Gabe, whatever. Oh, really? You want to Gabe whatever me? Let me show you something else, guys. Let me show you one more thing. This only takes 5 minutes. I'm going to show you the connection between Russian politics. Hang on, I should put in my headphones again. Actually, no, I won't. Here, guys, I'll put in my headphones again after I play this article for you. So, actually, no, I have this on a playlist. So let me get into my playlists. All right. Man, where's my playlist? Hang on real quick. I've got a playlist that I have all this information in. There it is. All right. And YouTube like changed all their formats and everything. So here it is. Russia. Okay, it's called Russia banned 4 Department of Justice officials. And my aunt's one of them. So
is basically a person that will be like any.
So yeah, guys. I mean, like, you're kind of wondering what's going on with like Russia right now. I mean, it depends on who you believe has what kind of influence. But why do you think Russia is always the enemy? Well, this article, which I can put on the screen, the actual full article, not just the one that's inside this video material, it's on Sputnik, and it actually has, it shows you my aunt, yes, my aunt, is one of the very few people in the world that is completely blacklisted and banned from entering Russia. My aunt, Catherine Warma. And it's covered in this article, which I'm going to play for you right now.
Just wanted to talk about some of the things that have been going on in the media lately with Russia. There's been a lot of disinformation kind of running around, and it's kind of made me disgusted with the mainstream media personally. I can't really watch it anymore, and I've kind of abandoned RT America and other news outlets because I've just noticed similar patterns to the way information is spread in the United States, and but more importantly, misinformation. So I wanted to focus a little bit on this story about a gentleman that was from Russia that was convicted of, I guess, credit card theft and credit card number theft and cybercrime. And as a result of this case, the man's name was, let's see here. Sorry about this, folks. His name was Seleznev. And
hang on really quick, guys, because Mamasu asked a good question about my cousin in that clip. She says, sorry, I don't know who you are, sorry. Whoever you are, he or she says, I apologize. Hang on. These are good comments. Language written verbal has less meaning or clarity in me. Tone is more telling. Body language if monotone, unless they're witty. But yeah, most can't even detect wit or sarcasm, satire anymore.
But I like this. I like what you said here, Mamasu. It always puzzles me how people can sense the inauthenticity tone. Your tone is good even when it's bad. Oh, no, that's not what I want to do. This is the one I wanted to play that you said. Hang on. That it sounds like she's repeating lingo she's heard before. Is that a typical phrase? Okay. Thank you for saying that question, Mamasu, because what you're telling me, what you're asking me was the first question mark that I had. Is my cousin using a common nomenclature or phraseology within professional sports reporting that because I'm not a sports fan, that I don't pay attention to? Like, I don't listen to professional sports articles. I don't care who won whatever football game, baseball game. It makes no difference to me. I am the person that cares the very least about professional sports out of any human being alive. I don't care at all. There's not a single game that I'm interested in. You'll love this, guys. There's one of the people that hacks a QTI IP. I love it. They're saying line up on this person's IP address and use it. I love it. I'm not going to get into that, but. All right, Mamasu. But yeah, so what you're saying though as a question mark, that's the first question I had because I did not want to draw a negative association to my cousin, without thoroughly researching it. And so I went out looking. I was doing web searches for like ESPN Plus, and I would put in quotations, the term young controllable asset. I was trying to find anything involving professional sports in that phrase. And I couldn't find a consistent thread of any professional sports writers that refer to like athletes being traded as young controllable assets. I just couldn't find this as a common phraseology. I couldn't go to like news stations and see them talking about, like how they do every year, they do the draft in football. Do you ever hear a single person there going like, yeah, that team's trading one young controllable asset for another young controllable asset? They never say that. So that fact that on ESPN radio, they're just going to this long, like, okay, what do you want to do? You want to trade one young controllable asset for another one? It just sounds like they're doing a deal in front of everybody. And I promise you guys, I'm not doing the same thing. I'm not playing that game. But it wouldn't surprise me if the people that do it would run a parallel construct to make it look that way, because that's what Rebecca's do. And I've already been harassed by 2 Rebeccas this morning. So, and they're strong in Oregon. Like Oregon and Northern California, Southern Oregon as a state in general is one of their major centers of power. And these women are basically Nazis that have real knowledge. Most of the Rebeccas that I'm talking about, they're really just real Nazi, like high-ranking Nazi women that blend in as yokels from like some like little special social club that's very similar to the Masons, but not the Masons. It has similar occult, whatever you want to say, like puzzles, cryptograms, secret handshakes, meetings behind the scenes, whatever else like that. I mean, they do all those things. They're really into this chain symbolism, chain link symbolism. And their whole network, as far as I can tell, is they're a big part of this whole like TIPS program and vigilante citizens programs, where they've integrated organ harvesting in the basically human trafficking, guys. They always find a way to justify their human trafficking activities. Hang on, let me put in my headphones again. And so part of their human trafficking is organ harvesting. That's what they can get away with the most easily in America. And they get away with it by tagging people as bad people. So they don't do this out in the open. They'll tag you in a way that's gray area and covert, but unprovable and untrackable. And it's more of a way like, just trust me, I know about this person. Their network is completely populated with bogus data that's designed to get good, decent, innocent people to harass and bother decent Americans. It's weaponized against people that are doing the right thing and incentivized to reward people doing the wrong thing. That's the only way to describe it. And if you don't believe this, guys, I would ask you, like,
knowing what I know about mobile networks. Sorry, I'm going to take that comment off now. Like, I know a lot about mobile networks in America. And like, I know how easy it is to solve crimes, especially ones involving missing people, based on the knowledge I have from the wireless industry, even if it's old, guys. Like the last time I worked at Verizon until January of 2016. I was a contractor doing in-building system performance with Verizon. In fact, if you guys want evidence, since a lot of you already know I'm in Astoria, and that's not a secret anymore. Not that it ever was. I think sure a lot of people already figured that out. But I completely lost track of my thought there. Hang on. Wow, guys, it's like I got completely wiped and erased. And I think I know how it happened, but I'm not going to get into it. Where was I at, guys? As far as what was I just talking about? Help me out here, Susan. Because I was just in the middle of a thought, and I don't want the time warp playing in the background while I'm trying to think of it. Rocky Horror Picture Show, isn't that weird, guys? While I'm trying to think of what I was just talking about, I'll share a quick story with you. At my seafood processing gig, I got punctured by a rockfish in the hand here a couple of times, and it hurts like a son of a bitch half the time. It just happened actually like about a week ago. Old Rocky Fanucci stabbed me. Oh, okay, Verizon. Thank you. Thank you, Tina. I knew there was a reason that I was talking about something. Okay. All right. I ended my career in 2016 at Verizon. So I was just trying to explain to people that I'm here in Astoria right now. And this is actually a region that I actually did projects for Verizon in. This was part of my area of responsibility. And so now that I'm doing a lot of my other work, there is a what do you call it? A Verizon store just up the street in Warrenton, where if you go to that Verizon store there by the coffee shop, the Taco Bell and all that, and you look up on the rooftop at those antennas, that's where I did that clip, where I was at one of my recent clips. That's where I filmed it. And I was just showing you guys that that's evidence that I am who I am who I say. And even though there's people that are in the background that are insinuating that I'm Joaquin, I'm not Joaquin. I am Gabriel. See, there's people that are like, they want folks to believe. I don't know what this is going on, guys, but I'm just going to help you guys understand. There's something going on with identity theft and stealing my identity that seems to be going on right now, where people want to believe or create the perception that I'm my brother. So let's be really clear. Justin Gabriel. Okay. I am Justin Gabriel Cruz. Okay. Not Joaquin. Joaquin, as the Rebecca Oddfellow Network like to imply that I am, has tattoos. Gabriel has no tattoos. Joaquin has tattoos. He's got them on his legs, which I'm going to show you I don't. Right here, guys. Right here, Joaquin has like major, like skull and bones. And then down here, he's got like a nuclear radiation symbol. So I'll show you both sides, guys. Nothing. Nothing. I have to do this, guys, because this is one of the ways that they malign me. Nothing. No tattoo. No tattoo. Okay. It's amazing how much ended after I did that. here's what I think's going on right now, you guys. Like, because of everything I've just told you about, like all the connections involving my brother who has those tattoos, my cousin, everything else like that, they're all scrambling to come up with new ways to hide and be different people. And I was told by people from the sidelines that in my family, I'm just going to tell you guys this, I'm not crazy. The plan in my family is that I was told this. Again, guys, I'm repeating to you something that I was told. They believe, certain people within the military and the defense groups believe that what they're attempting to do right now is because my brother has been doing all this in the background with SAIC and Leidos and corrupting everything and everything else like that, that their master plan was, while I was on this seafood processing contract, was to somehow steal my identity, and I was going to be deleted, erased, and then he would be stealing my identity and becoming me, and I would be gone. And they intended to achieve this by putting me into a situation while I was out here that was very, very dangerous, that would ensure that I would be surrounded by people that would be incentivized to do such things to me. And it's only because I get advice from the sidelines, from these same people that are DOD veterans, that kind of thing, that I'm alive. Because anytime something's being planned, they tell me to go a different direction, and I avoid the incident. But I know that they've thwarted them, because there was times where guys were planning on grouping up and beating the shit out of me, being real with you, and I could tell that it was about to happen, and they said, don't go down that way, take a left, then take a right, go down that street, and then go to where you're going. I literally got it that clear. And then I saw when I came back that there was a group of people that if I'd gone the other route, they could have easily achieved pulling me off the side of a bike path and beating the shit out of me, undetected. And that could have been something that would have been, where, again, if everybody just looks the other way and you're around a bunch of people that, all right, guys, I got about another 30, 45 minutes. I'm going to be writing a book and all kinds of things about what I just experienced the last 5.5 months. But identity theft is a key part of it. Removing a person from their identity and giving it to another person, like literally stealing the identity of one person and giving it to another, is a key part of the program that I've been immersed in. And I'm coming out of it with my identity and my life intact, only because of my faith and trust in my partners and their faith and trust in me. I've been kind of like in the middle of an environment where a person can spend all day working, like spend months and months working, and then very craftily and carefully at the very end of their experience can be eliminated from existing. And I know that I'm going to be able to talk about this for a while, because I was very well protected by people that care about America and the world, quite frankly, because this is way deeper. In fact, I'd argue, guys, this is really not about America really individually. This is about whether or not you agree that people that cannot defend themselves deserve to be protected. I'm talking about the most vulnerable in our society, children that have no control over their movement or whereabouts without adults telling them how to do it, where to do it, and actually facilitating that. They don't control where they go. They rely upon adults. And the adults in our society are criminally negligent in ways that are cruel. The ones in my life are horrible. The adults in my life barely qualify as adults, if you ask me. They only attended to things that gave them surface level reputations that made them look good, and they neglected every core element of what actually protects and defends a child who needs it. And they've propped themselves up as people that are responsible and raised us properly and right and everything. And guys, I speak properly. I'm very smart. I went to the right schools. I know how to say please and thank you. I open doors for ladies. You see, I do all the right things, and I'm supposed to. I was trained right. I was trained right. I was trained to make them look good. I was trained to make them look like proper people. I was trained to look the other way at all the other things that I witnessed. And at some point, I learned that I'd been trained to be blind. That they were trying to train me into ignoring something happening right in front of me. That had been happening right in front of me for years, for decades. Human slavery. So it's one thing, guys, when you have my grandfather's abuse. It's one thing when you have the weird thing on ESPN radio. It's one thing when you have all the weird connections to SAIC and Leidos and DOE. But when you add them all together, eventually my family looks like what they obviously are. And that's guilty of something. And if it's not the actual crime itself, it's of being negligent and solving the crime with me. Or suppressing information that would have led to the prosecution of the people that did the crimes. Case in point, my mother concealing where her father was. That's criminal. It's criminal, you guys. You cannot conceal the whereabouts of a known child abuser, a criminal child abuser, and walk away like you did nothing. And she did. And she acts like she did nothing wrong. She acts like she owes nobody anything, anywhere, any place. That she can let this guy go to Mexico, hold on to his address. He's not Mexican, by the way. I want to make that very clear, you guys. We're not talking about the Cruz side of the family. We're talking about a man named Pettigrew, who molested over, guys, he confessed to so many, I don't even know how many he did. I'm going to tell you straight up what this incident was. I was like somewhere between 10 and 11 years old, I think. I was on the farm, and James got really drunk. And he was just like telling all. He sat me and this girl down and just said, I did this, and this. And he told us gleefully all the things he had done to all these children. Bragged about it. And it's not like we needed to hear that because we already knew. But I'm telling you that on top of what we already knew and witnessed, he confessed to much more. And my mother was comfortable sitting on his address for decades. She knew where he was. She knew where he lived. Her family knew where he was and where he lived. That is criminal negligence. But it's only because criminal negligence has now become the norm in our society, courtesy of the FBI Hollywood uranium industry, that human trafficking is ignored, dismissed, swept under the rug. Even the worst examples of human slavery that occur right in front of everybody. All allowed, all tolerated. Sorry, guys. It's funny you say that because I keep cramping. I don't know if I'm actually experiencing it like as an organic physical condition, or if it's being done to me. But I've had some of the most wicked leg cramps hit me like you would not believe, like out of nowhere. and they're wicked, and they cause my legs to seize up. And one was just starting to happen just right now. All right. At some point, you guys, I just had too much information. And when you put it all together, the lack of explanation from family members, aside from, I still don't know what you're talking about, or that sounds complicated. What do you mean? I'm going like, this family, like the people that I approached, should have a greater level of sophistication than me on these topics. So their answers and their dismissive answers about what I knew and what I was telling them don't really pass muster. If my brother's at the National Security Directorate managing things like nuclear national surveillance and pretends he doesn't know what I'm talking about, what does that tell you? Sorry guys, I'm in the like one of the worst places I could be, because it makes me like easy to do a lot of this shit, and I'm just cramping up like wickedly when I'm trying to talk to you right now, and it's very I know where it's coming from too, so I can't do anything about it. You understand why EWs are such a freaking frustrating thing? The people that use them can do it right in front of everybody, cause all kinds of physical symptoms, all kinds of like whatever to you, and you just have to sit there and heck, deal with it. You can't say shit. And they use old ladies to do it. My mother's one of them. If a 70-some-year-old lady just pulls her van up and you start to feel your whole body seize up and you know it's her doing it, what do you say and what do you do in that situation? You see, they know the psychology of this. If you know, even if you can prove it with a meter, they can still sit there and go like, we don't know. We don't know. What are you talking about? Can you prove that? I don't see a bullet. I'm going to take this network down, you guys. I really am. They're over. We're doing this together, all of us. All of us are doing this together. And they're not going to be able to hide behind these social justice bullshit and gender issues and race issues and all the other crap that they've been manufacturing. It's all bogus, you guys. And the sooner we as a group of people, as Americans, decide to just like lay down those swords and say like it doesn't matter, the better off we'll all be. You know what I'd like you guys to do if you can? And I agree, to be honest with you. Susan, you're... Stop it, Susan. But you know how that is, though. It's a great cover. I'm just telling you, like, it's one of those things where what can you do when it's coming from that direction? You can't say anything. You can't do anything, even though you know. See, my mother's mastered this. That's why she goes, who knows? When she answers that question, like, that's going to enrage you. You want to know the answer to her question, and she's going to look you right in the face and just look at and be all dismissive and go, who knows? You know what that did to me? My head was going to explode at that moment. And she knew it. She knew it. Is she a caring mother? Does she care about children? No. She's a wicked old witch. She doesn't adopt a child because she wants to take care of somebody from another country. She didn't do it for that reason. It was all for image. So again, I know it makes like having me speak the way that I do and be a good, proper kid and be intelligent and have all the right education, everything else like that, it made them look good. Because the whole point was for once I got to this level to have is like back in 2016, you guys, I was making nearly 6 figures. Like I was pretty much doing really good. I was in wireless. Like it was dumb to leave what I was doing. That was the whole point, to get you in that level of comfort where you know if you rock the boat just a little bit, you can lose all of it. And then once you lose all of it, you're in a situation where you now have both no money and no ability to actually defeat the issue either. No, Masus, like as I said, you think that I gave, no. I'll tell you what happened though. Involving, guys, just to be clear, those who are just joining or whatever, there's a thing involving like my identity relative to my brother's identity. I think Joaquin, my brother, has been working on this for a long time where he could swap or would attempt to swap, like use me as a placeholder where they kept me looking squeaky clean to where if his reputation ever got damaged, he could literally, because this is how cold he is, he could literally just delete me and steal me as his own identity. But dipshit was dumb and got tattoos, something I would never do. I would never get a tattoo. It's so bizarre that they're playing Talking Heads as Psycho Killer right now. If you knew the relevance of this. I'm in Rebecca Central, guys. Just bear with me here. I'm going to be done with the stream here in a little bit and go on my way outside or whatever like that. But basically what we've got going on right now as far as the State of the Union, guys, is so what I just told you as far as like I'm kind of giving you an idea, like my uncle, my aunt, my brother's at the National Security Directorate. You had my dad at the Department of Energy's Human Resources Department when the Human Genome Project was created. He was also at the Social Security Administration in 1995, the same year. That merged the Human Genome Project with every Social Security number in America. Then you get basically what is a modern Auschwitz of human genome data. Then they can basically have a database of everybody in America that has rare organs that are Rh negative and O blood type. Then that's when the Rebeccas and the Oddfellows step in to start putting you on watch lists where they go, bad person. Hey guys, I heard this person's really bad. I think that we should get rid of them, don't you? Aren't they bad? Aren't they horrible? I heard that they're a murderer, a rapist, and a horrible person. If you say that enough about Rh negative and O blood type people, you can convince a whole bunch of people just to go after them and soft kill them for organs, which are universally donatable, which is what the Rebeccas are really about. They watch people die and they steal their children from them after they're dead. It's in their charter. Oddfellows and Rebeccas, it says they tend to the ill and the weak at their moment of death, and they look after their orphans. Almost like a program of managing them. Yeah, thank you, Susan. Human resources as human assets. You got it. See, to some people, that's what it means. It's not just like you're a group that manages people within the group. Sometimes it means that you're literally managing them as assets and serial numbers. Yeah. Rhesus Genetics sources of rhesus genes. Yeah, just so you know, guys, I'll be doing more of the live streams in about 2 weeks. Okay, I'll be back into doing more consistent material more regularly. But I had to basically, if you're wondering what's been going on, I mean, I basically have been working the last 5.5 months. I work about 10 hours during the day, and then at night, well, not the entire time, but at least the last couple months. Since I've been able to, I got more work. So I have a full-time job and I have a part-time job. And so I've basically been working the full-time job during the day. I go home and shower and have about a half hour in between. And then I go right back out to work until about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Then I go to sleep and I get back up at 5:30 and do it all over again. And I usually work 7 days a week unless they have, for some strange reason, they don't do any processing at the plant. And since it's a harvesting type scenario where their peak season is when they're the busiest, I was working, like, there was times where I know I definitely worked 2 full weeks of consistent, like, full-time, like, all day, all night schedules. And it might have been 3 or 4 weeks. And that's because it's available. I can get the work and I can do it while I can. And I'm trying to get as much of it done before the winter hits. And that was the whole logic of it. So, so I have about another 2 weeks of that kind of schedule. The only reason why right now I'm able to do this is because my car's in the shop and I have to wait for it. Otherwise I'd be working. I'd either be at the plant or I'd be doing my part-time job. And so if you're wondering why you don't hear from me, it's because literally for me to stop and call somebody, it costs me money. And I'm sorry that that sounds like I'm just prioritizing money, but I'm not. I do care about everybody. I care about you guys as the viewers and everything like that. I consider us a community. But I need you to know, like, the reason why I've been, like, quiet lately and I've been very limited contact is because it's exhausting, you guys. Like, if I stop to, like, actually try to follow up with people, that can cost me 30, 45 minutes to an hour. And sometimes that means 50, 60 bucks to me. I know that sounds like I'm just being greedy or whatever else like that, but it's just what I have to prioritize right now, because in my experience, when I prioritize this and I don't look after my basic needs, then I wind up having a lot of things that fall by the wayside, you know, and people have to come to my rescue in ways that I don't want them to have to do. Like, meaning I need more support from the audience when that happens. People have to contribute to my channel and support the work more meaningful through the contributions to the channel. I wanted to be in a position to where I would be independently able to support this work without the need for the contributions, and that I could get myself in a more stable situation over time, you know, where I could do that more consistently. So it's just taken some time to recover from everything, guys, because I literally lost 3 cars in about a year. I want you to think about that. I'm already living basically at the poverty level. Losing 1 car in a year would actually devastate the average person. At the poverty level, I lost 3. And so it has been an uphill battle just trying to recover from all of the different things that have effectively been imposed. I mean, I can only take so much responsibility, you guys. A lot of this was just done to me as revenge for fighting human trafficking. Fact. Okay? So when I show up to certain locations and I find myself getting more brutally harassed by people who don't know me and are just talking shit, it says to me that they're being funded by the human trafficking and the child pornography and the child abuse networks. And that's the Rebeccas and the Oddfellows, because that's who I've reported on and that's who I've informed on. And they're the ones hiding everything. And they're the ones that are behind the TIPS programs. They're the ones behind the organ harvesting and all the other shit. All right. Now, where does this all get into the state of the union as a country? All right. If you look into the Finders cult, again, guys, you have to be familiar with my material to a certain degree to understand what I'm saying here. The Finders were a global human trafficking organization as a CIA front, run by a guy named Marion David Petty. Keeping in mind the guy I reported on is James J. Pettigrew from Marion County, who had a brother named David. Do you understand how aliases work? Marion David Petty is James J. Pettigrew. Okay, from Marion County. They changed it to Lane County because he's from Eugene, but Eugene used to be part of Marion County. If you read the more obscure reports, James J. Pettigrew, aka Marion David Petty, had connections to China involving global human trafficking, computers that linked America to China that involved the transactions and sales and trades of humans. They found computers in Washington, D.C. that the Finders were in control of at the D.C. compound. The CIA stepped in and said, you guys need to go away from this and look the other way and walk away from it all. Okay? Sorry, guys, I'm getting chat bots bullshit in my thing. So anytime I talk about this, guys, they populate my chat with a bunch of garbage crap. All right. So that connection to China is figurative here, guys, because they have something that's going on where the Nazis in America this is something that I think a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their head around. World War II, we were bombed at Pearl Harbor by the Japanese. And so the Japanese had affiliations with Nazis back then. And guys, no, again, I apologize to my Japanese American audience. I think it's horrible what occurred at the internment camps in America. So I'm not down with any of that or what happened. Oh, hang on really quick, guys. Sorry, hang on. Hello? All right. I'm going to finish up my explanation, guys, because I can get back on the road again. So let me explain this really quick. What I just told you is right now what the Nazis are doing is like the same way they had those partners with Pearl Harbor back then, okay? Now they basically formed like a partnership with certain societies in Asia that are down with the whole organ harvesting, human harvesting aspect of it, okay? That's those same groups that are in China, they have been flooding Mexico with the base materials to make cheap narcotics like methamphetamine and other types of things, like more chemically, things that are less like coca plant. Like that's more like South America. I'm talking about things that are more like ecstasy, MDMA, chemically things that have more amphetamine derivatives that are more chemically processed and plants and facilities. Flooding Mexico with those cheap materials and then forming partnerships between American Nazis, Mexican cartels, and the partners in China to do a whole ecosystem that involves the drug trade, the organ harvesting trade, the human harvesting trade, top down controlling information flow, payment, and all of it. Okay. And so there's American Nazis that want to see America destabilized. There's people within the Chinese Communist Party that would seek to see America destabilized. Now, again, guys, this is not me condemning China or the Chinese people at all. I want to make that very clear. I'll say this over and over again, guys. I have enormous respect for the Chinese people. I'm not xenophobic. And I don't even think that this is what the vast majority or even a significant amount of the people there would want for America. I don't believe they want this to happen to us. And I don't believe this is something that they would want to happen to their own country. But it's something that America's done to the Chinese. Americans mistreated the Chinese horrendously in the gold mines and other facilities going back over 100 years here. Americans have actually done some pretty bad things to the Chinese historically, to where I wouldn't really necessarily blame them for having like a sense of some type of vendetta on some level, or there being groups saying like, well, Americans have this sickness or something like that. I can kind of understand that. That would make sense to me. But let me tell you, it's not a consistent plan that's going to work for everybody, guys. It just won't. This is just cartels that are more Khazarian mafia in nature that are in different countries. That includes secret societies in America, secret societies in China. And then the cartels are more of a function, I would argue, of the Nazis that repatriated to Central America and America via Operation Paperclip. I'd say most of the cartels are managed by Nazis, the same way that the gangs in America are mostly managed at the top by Nazis and the FBI. People don't like to hear that, but that's the reality. And I believe that the reason why that happened is Hoover said, in fact, that the African American community would never experience another organic leader after Martin Luther King was assassinated, meaning to say that the FBI would be creating all of their future leaders using the whole FBI, Hollywood, uranium system of disinformation. So you can't have the organic leader that you actually believe in, that you actually think is legit. They're going to give you the Al Sharpton. They're not going to give you the one that actually cares about your community and won't sell you out. They're going to give you the one that'll serve the Nazi agenda and be an organ harvester and be a human trafficker. They're not going to give you a real political leader in your community. They're going to take that person out and replace him with somebody that they recruited in from the gangs, or that they cultivated into a gang. So what we have now in America is these American Nazis that have been here since 1945, raised under a Nazi agenda that hate America. And they find other people that they motivate to hate America. But the things that make these people hate America were designed by these very same Nazis. They're the ones that create the incidences that make you hate America, that hate Americans. They always do this everywhere they go. They will make themselves the group, whether it's the Jewish population, they're doing it to black people now. Guys, can I be real with you? What do you think Sean King is? Do you honestly believe that Sean King is an authentic African American, or is he a white Nazi that tells you he's black, even though he's obviously not? Takes over your movements, becomes a figurehead of BLM, even though his lineage appears to be 100% Caucasian. That's a Nazi for you. Right down to that fake ass name, Sean King. King, anyone? Starting to understand? Sean King? Who did he marry? A woman named Felice CIA? Oh yeah, Felice CIA. That's right, Felice CIA. That's who he's married to. You don't make it into. Sorry guys. You don't make it into their whatever unless you're one of the ones. People get paid for being inside the image, so I'm trying to keep that from happening. But you don't make it into their echelons. You don't make it into their echelons unless you're serving that human harvesting agenda. So are the Rebeccas and the Oddfellows nice, good country folks offering tips? Or are they just extensions of modern Nazisms that are helping create Auschwitz here? For what purpose? I want you to think about this, guys. They've got partnerships with China and Mexico to flood America with cheap narcotics into our ports and docks, something that was really obvious in the time that I've been here the last 5.5 months. Guys, I've seen some people on some amphetamine that like are acting so bizarre and weird. It's like beyond anything you'd see in the movie Spun. There's a movie by Jonas Ackerman called Spun that's about methamphetamine addicts. The type of amphetamines, the variants that I've seen flow through Astoria and the way they affect large groups, like I know the people that do it. I'll just put it that way. I basically have a pretty good idea of who's doing amphetamines, okay? And there was one variant that came through here where everybody was like this. All the ones that were doing it, they couldn't get this look off their face. They couldn't stop looking like this. And when they look at each other, they're all like this. And they were walking fast back and forth and talking fast and pacing really weird. And it's like now I'm seeing a new variant where the facial characteristics are less, but they walk like they've got like a yardstick straight up their spine, and they're like their arms are folded. They're doing like this. They're like Napoleon walking around everywhere like a little soldier, really fast and stomping around. I mean, these drugs, guys, are powerful, and they have a really consistent effect on the people, and they flood our ports and they flood our cities with this really cheap narcotics. What I'm trying to explain to you guys is like, this is an agreement. This is a partnership that Nazis have with cartels and the CCP to destabilize our country. Because you have that element, and then the technology hacks are preventing people from getting work in different places. So like you go to apply for a job, these technology backdoors are making it to where that application never even makes it to the employer, or it gets instantly rejected. And the people that are part of these gangs, cartels, and organ harvesting matrices, they're always allowed a job into every single place. And they get clear background checks, even if they wouldn't qualify for one. That's how they're backdooring all the information. They're going to make it to where, and people are clueless to this right now in ways because it's so invisible. But guys, if you don't catch on, They're going to keep doing this until our country has been completely destabilized. Nobody's going to be working anywhere because you don't seem to understand that they've backdoored the background checks. They've backdoored the hiring processes. And it's being done with the help of the Chinese Communist Party. And they have American Nazi partners that are going like, we didn't see that. Is that happening? We didn't see that. Really? Did that happen? I didn't hear that. I didn't see that. And I know who they are. Because it's obvious my family knows who did it, knows where it is, has the access to deal with it, and simply ignores the evidence, does not bring it forward to the right authority. So they're one of two things. They're involved or they're criminally negligent. Fact. And moreover, they've hired a network of their deranged sociopathic friends to harass me indefinitely and go from place to place where I try to do my streams and disinform using the TIPS network. And you know what those people have as their predilections 9 times out of 10? HT, CT, and CP. They're people that are into it, they buy it, sell it, or provide the information routes for it all to happen. So what we're existing in right now is this big mess. Of all these different influence layers. And people with something to hide. So what I did was I distinguished myself by being a person that has nothing to hide. I reveal all about myself. I show everybody everything in my laptop. I offer my laptop, every hard drive to the FBI as well as the military, to where no one can say that I'm doing something that I'm not doing. And the FBI has told me that the best thing that I can do is to go to Starbucks and upload my information on their public Wi-Fi to ic3.gov. Does that sound like a good idea to you guys? I'll tell you what it does. It does about the same thing as calling the human trafficking hotline and reporting evidence that you know about. It gets you put on a list that the FBI will target you with, and they'll send the same gangs that are doing these activities to harass you and be next to you everywhere you go. They'll make sure that a cartel or a gang member is your next door neighbor. They'll make sure a human trafficker tries to be your best friend. What do you do when you're in my situation? You got to go balls out and just go straight to the military and tell them everything that you know, and that you're making an attempt to report everything and that it's just not working like you should. But you're right. Guidelines like protocols. Good comment, Tina. Like what I tried to do, I tried in earnest to do what I was supposed to do, report things to the right jurisdiction, and that jurisdiction is 100% negligent. They're complicit and they're involved. So when you learn that, what do you do? Guys, do you know that like the FBI pretended that like the finders practically didn't exist, even though Ted Gunderson was a former FBI agent reporting on it? And it wasn't until I started doing articles on the finders that they started releasing more information, and even on the FOIA library. Me. I pushed the needle. I'm the one that pushed the needle, getting these people to have to admit to doing something at least. And so what we're existing in right now, I can assure you, The problem is, and I told you this was going to happen a few years ago, I would reveal what this family's done relative to exploitation, human exploitation networks and child exploitation networks to such a degree that they can't hide from their true track records anymore. They can't run around going, no, they do it. No, they do it. Because that's what they're doing now. Now they act like their shit doesn't stink. And they go like,
That person. No, they did it. No, they did it.
that's distraction, deflection. See, I put an end to that because I make it to where I'm like, you can't put these people in charge of saying they did it, because they did it. Do you guys understand that? The ones you put in charge of the tips programs are human traffickers. Who run around going,
That person is dirty. I think they did something. Go look into them. Go look into that person. I bet you they're bad.
that's the human traffickers. They don't want to meet me face to face because I offer to do that with everybody. I'm going to say this right now in this environment too. Anybody who says they have anonymous information about me, let's go together right now to the FBI, and I have my hard drive right here and every computer in front of me. I have all my cell phones. We'll all go right down there and they can forensically scrub every one of my drives. But I'm going to have the military following me when they do it. And I'm going to make sure that one of my Marine friends is waiting there at the same time that that happens. Because you're not going to lie about me. And you won't get away with it. I've got you backed into a corner, family. So here's what's happening, guys. The Khazarian Mafia, that's what they are. They're the Khazarian Mafia. They're that multi-generational, hundreds and hundreds of years going back mafia is finally being revealed and taken down and out of power. And this is the last death gasp of their disinformation network. They've been able basically to achieve this soft coup of theirs by lying, faking it until they make it. And you're seeing the results, ladies and gentlemen. They own multinational corporations, media organizations, and they did it all by lying. They didn't even have to pick up a gun. They got you to believe bullshit. They got you to love the unlovable, to see the enemy as your hero, to see the trafficker as the rescuer. So you're going to have to wake up out of this spell as this civil war comes to an end. And congratulations, because those of you who aren't there yet, that thing that's been nagging at you in the back of your mind going, something's wrong, something's not right. There's something wrong here. There's a sickness inside. See, if there's something, if you're right, if you're still functioning normally, if you're still with the world, you know something's wrong. And I think that you're going to get your answers. You're going to feel that sense of relief. You're going to get that sense that it's like, wow, my God, people finally figured it out. They finally figured it out. Thank God. Because I'm feeling it. Definitely. I'm here where I'm at, guys, because it's where the Pacific Ocean meets the Columbia River. Ships from all across the world. I don't care if you're from Russia, if you're from China, if you're from any country in the world, you can come along this coastline and listen to me babble away like it doesn't mean anything. See, they can silence me inside a Starbucks to a degree, but when I sit on a bench out there on the coastline, you can't do shit. You can't silence me. You can't keep me from being heard by Russia, from being heard by China, from hearing me negotiate with ambassadors and global leaders. And it's funny, you guys, because no one's ever going to believe that it happened. And that's okay. But it did. And everything's going to be all right. Because I gave other areas a much clearer understanding of what's going on here in America, to where places that may have been incentivized to completely decimate us in ways that they could had a greater understanding of what we're really about as a country. And they begin to see us as humans more and as more like them. We did actually achieve this, you guys. We actually got us to a point where they're just like, oh my God, we all are experiencing like this sense that the wrong person's the enemy, and it's getting us to go after the wrong places and the wrong people at the wrong times. There's an awareness, there was an awakening. And so negotiations were made, things were working out, and you're seeing global events change ever since. Major events have happened this year, ladies and gentlemen, and it's just going to keep going that way. We are winning. And when I say we, I just mean God. I mean creation. I mean the universal plasma field. I mean things that reinforce life are winning. The life cycle is winning. We can have it all. We can have heaven on earth. We have to just abandon this system, ladies and gentlemen. Walk away from it entirely, because it is not worth preserving. And you don't have to take it down all aggressive or whatever. You just have to simply stop acknowledging its power. Remove it from its power. It started with some of us who had to learn how to do it in our own personal situations. And I promise you, it's going to have a cascading effect to a larger group. Once we learned how to do it, this is why the Rh negatives and O blood types, I'm not saying I'm one, but it's why they're so targeted. It's why they're on the list of so many people. Because all of their thoughts, values cascade to the larger population. Once an Rh negative or O blood type understands something, that understanding becomes available to the larger population. Once they have an awareness, it becomes available to the larger population. Hence, why that population is either kept asleep in material wealth, slept, silenced, or they're killed and exterminated. You get one of two extremes. They want you for your organs, or they want you for your biofield influence, which they want to control as their own. And if you decide to take control over it, they will take that life right away from you. Case in point. So I'm going to be ending this one, guys. I do appreciate you joining. I'm going to be back on very soon, but please understand what I just told you. Like, this is a multinational mafia that is being taken down, and it had to be done through a psychoenergetic mass resonance understanding. We had to get a lot of key people to understand and receive information. Once they did, we're now beginning to see the cascading effect of that information spread across the larger population. More people are becoming aware in more places. And as those learnings and those understandings spread, not just here in America, but in China, in Mexico, and other areas, then we begin to achieve the result we're looking for. And we begin to get the solutions in place, and the answers begin to arrive. I would argue they're already here. And good comments, Susan, and thank you everybody for joining. Susan, True Seeker, Mamasu, thank you for joining. Tina, everybody, sorry if I'm forgetting everybody. I really appreciate Kelly also. Thank you everybody for joining very much. I appreciate you. And I'm going to be doing some cool things, more life affirming things, more about, positive, uplifting things soon, guys, and with a lot of good scenery too. So be on the lookout for that a couple weeks from now. So I'll be seeing you soon, and have a blessed day. Thank you.